onto its side on I-15 in Payson early this morning.
No, a real tragic turn of events in this accident here, and what state troopers are saying it's their first fatal of 2024, and it all happened just before 1:30 this morning. That's when a semi-truck veered off into the left shoulder, and state troopers say the driver overcorrected to the right then, causing the semi to roll over. Moments later, a red sedan coming northbound crashed into the trailer. 3 adult women were inside. The driver and front passenger both died. And according to the Utah Highway Patrol, it appears the driver simply couldn't see the overturned trailer in time to react.
Unfortunately, with that overturned semi, the way it was facing, you couldn't see any lights or anything like that. So they were, from what it appears, it didn't look like they knew that the semi was there blocking the roadway.
And state troopers say it will take some time to determine what caused the semi driver to veer out of his lane in the first place. Right now, there are no signs of them being distracted or impaired.
We will continue to monitor how this crash is impacting the commute when we check traffic and weather together coming up. Your money at this moment? Now, everything is in the green. The Dow is up 200. We've had 4 straight days of losses. The S&P is in the green by 13. The NASDAQ is now joined in. It is up but less than 5 points. Coming up, we'll continue to get some flurries throughout the day. We'll check your forecast next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Looking for the best show deals on new and used RVs? You'll find them only in Ogden during the Northern Utah RV Show, January 11th through the 15th. We're bringing in new and used inventory and low show pricing inside the Golden Spike Event Center. For 4 full days, shop new and used travel trailers, fifth wheels, toy haulers, motor homes, and more from the nation's top brands. Find early season discount pricing on all new models and fantastic used RV discounts like a 2011 Dutchman 185 DB Sport for just $9,995. You'll also find that every remaining 2023 is being sold at clearance pricing during the event. Plus, get no payments until April on approved credits and huge trade-in offers on your current RV. Go to NorthUtahRVShow.com to shop the best deals first. This show season, you'll find it all in Ogden. Admission and parking are free to the Northern Utah RV Show, January 11th through the 15th inside the Golden Spike Event Center. Open daily at 10 a.m., closed Sunday. Then we're back at it Monday, Martin Luther King Day from 10 to 5. Sponsored by Bish's RV. Don't miss it.
In order for small businesses to thrive, they need to be smart, efficient, savvy, staying ahead of the market at every turn, finding ways to do more with less, and taking advantage of every opportunity that comes their way. That's why Comcast Business is introducing the Small Business Bonus. For a limited time, you can get up to a $1,000 prepaid card when you switch to Comcast Business, the company with the largest, fastest, reliable network. So if you're a small business owner, don't wait. Call or go online to learn about the $1,000 bonus today.
Give your business a head start in 2024. Get started with fast speeds and advanced security for $49.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Call or go online to switch today. Ends 2/21/24. Restrictions apply. New customers only with 50 megabits per second internet and security edge. EcoBill and autopay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Prepaid card offer requires premium internet.
For the right repair and the right paint, the right choice is manufacturer-certified Martins Collision Repair. Hi, I'm Tiago Martins, and few have met the rigorous certification by Kia, Dodge, Infiniti, Chrysler, Jeep, Nissan, Hyundai, and many others. But it's one more reason that Martins is your right choice. Check online at martinscollision.com. On State Street in Orem and in Salem, we work with all insurance companies.
The right repair, the right paint, the right choice. Martins Collision Repair.
For the right repair and the right paint, the right choice is manufacturer-certified Martins Collision Repair. Hi, I'm Tiago Martins. Many shops have ASC and ICAR certified technicians, but few have certifications by General Motors, Nissan, Chrysler, Hyundai, Jeep, and many others, making Martins your right choice. Online at martinscollision.com, on State Street in Orem and in Salem, we work with all insurance companies.
The right repair, the right paint, the right choice. Martins Collision Repair.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair. Save up to 20 cents with DinoPay. Busy morning, Andy.
Yeah, and we still have that semi-rollover affecting 215 from Redwood over to I-15. We've got some slowdowns coming into downtown right now just before you get to 1300 South. In Utah County, they've reopened the left lane of the freeway in Payson and Santaquin, so they are letting one lane get by that rollover, but there's still some backups approaching the exit. It is moving better now than it has been all morning. And we've got an issue with some flashing lights at 2100 North and Redwood Road and coming out of Saratoga Springs, so be prepared for some slowdowns northbound through that area. I'm Andy Farnsworth in the KSL Traffic Center.
You can expect snow for the rest of the day today, actually continuing with a better chance tomorrow. Highs are going to remain in the 30s. The storm intensifies overnight, and we get another round of it coming for the weekend, so keep that in mind. Right now, it is lightly snowing downtown and 34 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
As Tim has been reporting this morning, we are monitoring very closely a developing situation in Perry, Iowa, where there's apparently been a school shooting on the first day back to school after the holiday break. It's at a middle school and high school combo. It's called Perry Middle School and High School. We don't know of any injuries, Dave, and it looks like right now the sheriff or somebody from the sheriff's office in Perry, Iowa, is just getting ready to start a press conference.
Yeah, according to reports from NBC News, there are people headed to the hospital as we speak. And remember, this is just day before the Iowa caucuses, so there's been a lot of politicians visiting this area, and it will be let's go right now.
It's the sheriff of Dallas County, Iowa, right now.
We're still unclear of exactly how many are injured or what the extent of those are, but we're working on that right now. There is no further danger to the public. The community is safe. We're just now working backwards, trying to figure out everything that happened and make notifications. There'll be another update later on today. It's still very early. This happened at approximately 7:37 this morning. School didn't start yet, luckily, so there was very few students and faculty in the building, which I think contributed to a good outcome in that sense. But we'll have more information later on this afternoon. We will not be releasing any more information in the meantime, so please be patient with us so that we can talk with these victims and their families and try and figure out what happened.
So apparently
we won't
multiple
be answering any questions
injuries
today either, for right now. We'll let you know later on this
at a middle school and high school in Perry, Iowa. Sheriff saying moments ago that there's no further danger to the public. They won't be releasing a lot more information this morning. He was grateful that school hadn't quite started yet. Sounded like the shooting started about 7:37 this morning, just before school was getting ready to start. It looks like it's a middle school and high school combo. And Perry, Iowa, not being too familiar with Iowa, it is about 40 miles outside of Des Moines.
Multiple gunshot victims, no active threat, as you mentioned, and it seems like police arrived quickly within 7 minutes, according to reports.
Let's step aside for a moment while our reporters and producers gather more information for us about this developing story out of Iowa, where there's been a school shooting there on the first day back after the holiday break. And we'll continue on with our top national story.
Dave and Dujanovic, special coverage of the top national story.
They went to the border. Dozens and dozens of lawmakers, including 2 from Utah, headed to the southern border.
Last month alone, we saw the most illegal crossings in recorded history. It is an unmitigated disaster, a catastrophe. And what's more tragic is that it's a disaster of the president's own design.
Just learned that in a matter of moments, we'll be speaking live with Representative Celeste Malloy, who also went along with House Speaker Mike Johnson, who you just heard here, and numerous other lawmakers, Republican lawmakers, to the border. The White House saying it's not their fault. They proposed a solution. Republicans just don't want to jump on board. Here's White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre.
So we need the resources to actually do the work, and they keep getting in the way. House Republicans keep getting in the way.
Now, this is what happens. It's Olympic level finger pointing, but the numbers are very clear. The problem is astronomically high. Let me compare the Trump and Biden years just a little bit, and this is the numbers are quite telling. Let's go back to the Trump years, 2017. That was the lowest year of illegal crossings in the Trump years, 310,000. Last year, 2.2 million. That just tells me we've addressed this. We've talked about it before, but comparatively speaking, it's apples and oranges. This is a much different scene than any president has seen in recent history.
One of the things Republicans were calling for yesterday is for the Biden administration, President Biden, to immediately go back to the Remain in Utah policy that President Trump,
Remain
in Mexico, thank you, that President Trump had implemented, and that President Biden repealed. And that would make it so if you're seeking asylum or you're trying to cross the border into the United States from Mexico along the southern border, you would have to remain in Mexico until your hearing. We did ask Representative John Curtis, who was in studio with us yesterday. Of course, he was here because he was announcing his run for the United States Senate. We asked him about this. He did not go to the border. He said he's going in the next couple of weeks with another group who will be down there. He did not go on this trip. But he gave us some ideas of what solutions look like.
Look, you answer how you fix it. I've supported bills, everything from a total redo of immigration to small fixes. And every time I do, I'm attacked, right? Because people want this magical, perfect solution to immigration. And I'm telling you, it doesn't exist. But what we have now is intolerable and unacceptable, and we have to move forward. The answer will not be perfect. We've got to realize that the good is a lot better than what we're doing right now. And I'm hopeful that this brings it to a head, that we can at least deal with what's happening down at the border with humanity.
Humanity that was powerful, as he said that, because, Debbie, if I'm living in another country and I'm scared for my life, or if I'm looking for a better life for my family, I can absolutely see myself doing the exact same thing, packing my family up and making the dangerous trek. If I think there are better opportunities in America and I'm living elsewhere, I could absolutely see myself doing this. That doesn't necessarily mean it's right or that it's legal, but quite frankly, I would do the exact same thing. So we have to find this balance of humanity, understanding, but at the same time, just this open border policy, unofficial open border policy that we have right now, is completely unsustainable.
Continuing to track our developing story in Perry, Iowa, where we just reported moments ago that there's been a school shooting. We're unclear as to the total number of injuries, but the sheriff there just announcing right off the top of our show during a news conference there have been multiple injuries. There is no further danger to the public. The shooter has been identified, according to the sheriff, but he is not right now confirming the name or the condition that the shooter is in. This happened just before school started this morning on their first day back after the holiday break.
But police did say that the active shooter is no longer a threat.
Correct. Straight ahead, we're expecting either a phone call or is she going to be in studio? We're waiting. Celeste Malloy, brand new representative, of course, representing the Utah in the second congressional. Help me out here, Dave. Fourth congressional district. I was just having a number problem.
Burgess is in the fourth. Sorry.
Second.
You're right.
We're just trying to get back and forth between all this breaking news off the top of the show today. And so the second congressional district, newly elected Congresswoman Celeste Malloy just went to the southern border with this large group of Republican representatives who went down there to check out the conditions in Texas, on a major border crossing there where they had 71,000 encounters in December alone. She's joining us next. What she saw and what she thinks the solutions are to the border crisis.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
we're just days away.
State lawmakers are already hard at work on a number of bills,
making decisions that affect you.
Utah's 2024 legislative session starts in January. Get updates on every bill with Tim and Amanda mornings and Jeff Kaplan afternoons. Eye on the Hill 2024
on KSL News Radio.
Everybody knows that exterior remodeling salespeople are all about the high-pressure sell. Am I right? Windows, siding, gutters, those suckers are going to twist your arm and get you to buy, or they won't leave your house at night. Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and I want you to know we don't have high-pressure sells. In fact, we don't even have salespeople. Nope, we have estimators. That's a huge difference. Estimators are trained to look at the entire scope of the project, to see and know if there are any problems, like rotten wood, wood-borne insects, or construction issues specific to your house or your neighbors. Salespeople are more concerned about playing those silly price games. Buy one, get one free, sign today and get 40% off, as if they didn't just jack the price up to give you a fake discount. RGS Exteriors estimators are going to give you a great quote. No games, no tricks, no nonsense. Call RGS Exteriors to quote your exterior project. Our number is 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsutah.com. That's rgsutah.com.
Give the star in your life the brightest gift in the world. Name a star after them. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can name a star for birthdays, weddings, or even memorials. Over 45 years, we have named millions of stars for celebrities and individuals from around the world. The star you name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hi friends, Dan the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. I get a lot of emails with feedback from customers. Here's one. Dear Dan, I just had the best experience ever. I bought a computer from Shane at your State Street store. I asked several what I thought were really stupid questions. Shane was super courteous and made me feel comfortable through the whole process. People need to understand how important it is to support a local company, especially when your experience is so good. PC Laptops really does love me. Signed, Satisfied. I love hearing feedback like that. It really just gives me the chills. It's the whole reason why I got into the computer business in the first place. You can get a brand new PC Laptops desktop, and they start at only $29 a month. And it comes with a lifetime warranty. That means if anything goes wrong, we're going to take care of you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com. At PC Laptops, we really do love you.
Two friends taking pictures of the rising full moon on a summer night.
Two teenage kids doing what teenage kids do.
When a stranger with a gun and a death wish changed everything.
It was violent, it was senseless, and I will never understand it, I will never accept it.
I'm Amy Donaldson, and unfortunately, we're all too familiar with stories about how violence shatters lives. But what we rarely see is how they are rebuilt. In a new podcast, The Letter, we relive tragedy, but only so we can hear the rest of the story. The struggle to reclaim lives, the realities of grief, and the possibilities of forgiveness.
I believe in miracles. Sometimes I thought, there are no miracles. Yeah, there are, and this is a big one.
Follow The Letter at theletterpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, one person is dead, two are injured after a shooting at a high school in Perry, Iowa. Second, freeways are seeing major delays this morning due to two different semi-truck rollovers. And third, you can expect a storm this weekend with a few inches of snow in the valley, but we could have a couple of feet up in the Cottonwood Canyon areas. Right now, lightly snowing downtown and 34 degrees. Let's get you back now to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic.
Congressman John Curtis in studio with us yesterday says he's heading to the southern border along with other Republicans in the coming weeks.
I don't care what your political persuasion is. You should be unhappy with what's happening at the border. And in my 6 years, Republicans had the House, Senate, and the presidency. We didn't deal with it. The Democrats had the House, Senate, and presidency. They dealt with every single agenda item they had, but they didn't touch this. And it's the American people deserve to be very, very frustrated with what's happening down there.
And the numbers are staggering right now. More than 300,000 illegal crossings just last month.
Under President Biden, America has laid out a welcome mat to illegal immigrants, smugglers, and cartels.
Now, about 60-something lawmakers went down to the southern border. A couple from Utah, Representatives Burgess Owens and Celeste Malloy, traveled down to the southern border yesterday. Celeste Malloy joins us right now. Representative, thank you for joining us. Can you paint a picture of what you experienced when you were down there?
I don't know what I expected to see down there, but it was not that. And Eagle Pass was completely overwhelmed during the holidays. Between Christmas and New Year, they had so many people they couldn't process all of them. We showed up yesterday and there was almost nobody there. And that was surprising to me and I think a lot of the other lawmakers who were there. And people kept asking questions. You know, did the administration tell the Border Patrol to do something different? No. Did they give anybody a heads up? No. And so from that, I have to infer that the cartels knew we were coming and cleaned it up before we got there. And that's sort of terrifying that they have that much control and that much intel.
Yeah. I mean, you can imagine they're working their sources. You just never know with the cartel where they are and where they're listening. And so give us an idea of what you took away from your visit to Eagle Pass, Texas, which is, just a heavily impacted area of the southern border when it comes to crossings, and what you'll advocate for once you get back to D.C.
I went to the border largely because I wanted to see for myself what was going on there, but also because my friend Tony Gonzalez represents that district, and he had told me that it's not a partisan issue in that part of Texas. Republican, Democrat, recent immigrants, everybody's had it. Their systems are overwhelmed, and that is what I saw there. The sheriffs we talked to are beleaguered. The Border Patrol we talked to is, they have a good attitude about their jobs, but they're overwhelmed. They're processing paperwork instead of patrolling and picking people up. So my takeaway is we really don't have a choice. We have to have control of our border. And I've said, the whole time I was campaigning, sovereign nations have to control their borders, and I still believe that. I'll stand by that. But what I really realized yesterday is that by not having control of our border, we are creating a market for the cartels. They're getting rich, they're getting powerful by trading in human misery and suffering south of the border, and we have to control our border to stop that.
Your description, I'm trying to, I guess, wrap my mind around what had happened, because again, from our perspective, we're just watching video and we see these huge lines and gatherings in Eagle Pass, but you're saying when you arrived that everyone had been, I don't know, removed?
Yes. So the Border Patrol processes people there and moves them out. It's not a holding facility. And so the pictures you're seeing of the long lines of people, that's because they were getting people faster than they could process them and move them out. By the time we got there, the flow had slowed to a trickle, so they'd moved everybody out. If they'd have had the same inflow when we were there that they had during the holidays, there'd have still been lines.
Celeste Malloy live on the line. Of course, a newly elected representative back in the House of Representatives just went to Eagle Pass, Texas, at a border crossing there, along with numerous other Republican lawmakers from the House, to visit, see firsthand what was going on when they got there. Not as many people as they had expected and anticipated. A bit of a surprise, but as you mentioned, it could have been word got to the cartel or the smugglers, those who are human trafficking people across the border, the coyotes, and maybe they just held back. We don't know. But they are, it's interesting as I read what is going on in Mexico that could potentially be luring people to the border. they're doing what I'm reading, like with ABC News, they recently did a story on this, Representative Malloy, and they said things like, the coyotes and the smugglers would create fake travel trips and packages for people in Mexico, thinking that they're going to come to the United States. And then they drop them off just away from the border. So they have a whole bunch of people kind of in an area before you get to the border that are distracting our border patrol. So then the smugglers can get others through the border. And then there's this false information going around down in Mexico that for some, that the CPB's new app is going to be dismantled and taken offline, which is the one that people line up their hearings on, the free app, I guess, that the Border Patrol recently. And so they're coming to the border because they're fearful that this app is going to go away. So there's just a lot of really sneaky and horrible stuff going on down there, as you said, playing with people's emotions.
Yeah. Well, and word is out worldwide, I guess, that our border isn't secure. And so people are showing up expecting to be able to get across, and they can't get to the border without going through territory controlled by the cartels. So the cartels pick them up and extort them and take advantage of them. It really is a immoral human tragedy that's going on south of the border. And we've never had complete control over the border. But if we had much better control, that market would dry up.
When you were visiting, and who were you speaking to? Was it Border Patrol? Were you able to speak to residents? And what stood out to you as you were talking to people?
We met with a mix of people. We went through the facility at Eagle Pass that the Border Patrol has. So we heard from Border Patrol there. We had a lunch with local law enforcement and local landowners and a Texas landowner advocacy group. So we got to hear from people who are impacted, who live in the area. And it was just heartbreaking to hear from people who've been ranching in South Texas for 7 generations, and now they're ready to quit, and they feel like they're letting their ancestors down, but they can't make a living and dodge the cartels. I mean, the violence that's happening on their land is something they can't control. So, yeah, mostly a mix of residents, local law enforcement, and federal law enforcement.
Representative, do you feel as though there could be some sort of a budget showdown if the Biden administration doesn't do something before the clock ticks down in mid-January on the current situation that we're in right now? If something isn't done with the border?
I don't know. The House passed H.R. 2 before I got there. So the House has a border bill. We're waiting on the Senate to move on it. And I said in an interview last night, right now everyone in the House is really focused on those spending bills. We know those deadlines are coming up, and we have to have something done before the deadlines. Nobody wants a shutdown. Nobody wants a CR. Well, maybe some people do, but the majority of us want spending bills passed on time. And for the House, the border is an issue that we've already legislated. Funding for it may become a sticking point. I don't know. But I think that's one of the reasons we went to Eagle Pass yesterday, is to put some pressure on the rest of the government to step up and help solve this problem.
Will you separate border spending, border reform from the other appropriations bills?
I honestly don't know the answer to that one, so I probably shouldn't speculate. Right now it's tied to Ukraine funding.
Yeah. Well, we'll watch how it plays out. Thank you for taking the time to join us, Representative Celeste Malloy,
who just returned from the southern border. She was on a visit with numerous other Republican lawmakers down to the southern border in Eagle Pass, Texas, to take a look at what's going on there. In the 10 o'clock hour, we will have a live report from News Nation, who had a reporter down in Eagle Pass, Texas, yesterday with Republican lawmakers. She'll bring us up to date on the latest from the southern border, and also Burgess Owens, Representative Owens, joining Boyd Matheson this afternoon as well. So we've got a lot of coverage from the border throughout the day right here at KSL News Radio. Next, we've learned from the family of the man who died at the airport earlier this week on New Year's night that he ran out an exit door and then flung himself into an engine intake of a plane, that he had been dealing with bipolar disorder for 10 years.
He is just so manic at that point that He just didn't have any rational thoughts.
We have much more information on what happened at the airport that night, and also information on the impact bipolar disorder has on the patients and their families.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Tim Hughes. Let's take a look at our top stories for this half hour. Police in Perry, Iowa say at least one person has been killed at Perry High School. ABC's Des Moines affiliate WOI reporter Megan McPherson was outside the school this morning.
I'm starting to see more and more parents coming out looking for answers and, of course, looking to be reunited with their students who were just coming back to school today for their first day of a new semester. And this is a very, very small, tight-knit community here in Iowa. So I imagine that this community is just looking for answers, hoping to make sure that their students here at Perry High School and, of course, Perry Middle School, too, are okay.
That shooting also triggered a lockdown at Perry City Hall, where school district offices are located. Police are releasing more information and will continue to do so over time. In sports, the embattled commissioner of the Pac-12 spoke for the first time about the collapse of the conference. KSL News Radio's Michael Commit reports.
George Kliavkoff finally gave his thoughts months after Pac-12 began to unravel around the failed media rights negotiations with ESPN. When reporters caught up to him after Washington's playoff securing win against Texas, he placed the blame on the schools. He told Yahoo, quote, "If some of our schools would have been a little more patient, it would have paid off," close quote. Despite blaming the schools, he wasted no time taking credit for the Pac-12's wide success this season, calling it surreal. Michael Commit, KSL News Radio.
And the votes are in for the NFL Pro Bowl. Former BYU rookie receiver Puka Nacua made that list. Others with local ties going to the Pro Bowl include Penei Sewell, Jalen Johnson, Bobby Wagner, Fred Warner, Rashid Shaheed, and Miles Killebrew. Your money at this moment. The market's all in the green. That's nice to see after a little string here of down days. The Dow is up 263 points. That's 0.7%. The S&P is up almost 20, and the NASDAQ is even joined in. It's up 21 this hour. Coming up, get ready for more snow. We'll take a look at that forecast as we head to the weekend. KSL News Time, 9:33.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Are you one of those people? Those people. You know, self-driven, confident, love sales and understanding marketing. Would you like to work with a variety of businesses, large and small, helping them succeed? Do you want to actually make the kind of money you know you should make? Are you looking for a career with an opportunity to grow? Well, we're looking for those people. Bonneville Salt Lake Media Group is looking for account executives from a variety of backgrounds and experience levels to connect with high-potential business opportunities for digital marketing. KSL Podcasts, KSL News Radio, 103.5 The Era, FM 100.3, and 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. It's advertising sales that will change your world. Not to mention the world-class list of benefits we're famous for. You'll work in person and remotely in a dynamic team culture with opportunities to reach audiences both locally and globally. If this is the kind of work that interests you, text careers to 57500. That's careers to 57500. Text careers to 57500.
If you've ever set New Year's resolutions before, you know how difficult it is to follow through because you have to wait to see the results. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and in honor of your New Year, New You resolutions, Any Hour Services is having our New Year, New System sale. From now until the end of February, Any Hour Services will give you $2,024 off a new furnace and air conditioner, and you don't have to wait to save the money. You get $2,024 off at the time of purchase. The only thing you have to do to qualify for our New Year, New System sale is call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate. When you call, there's no obligation to buy. Just schedule a time to meet that works best for you. Let me say that again. From now until the end of February, when you have Any Hour Services install a new furnace and air conditioner, we'll give you $2,024 off. Call Any Hour Services right now and schedule a free estimate. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Denise has been playing jazz for 40 years. Last concert, one of the musicians fell sick with RSV, respiratory syncytial virus or RSV. is a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems. This time, she's choosing to help protect herself with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo. Abrysvo is a vaccine for the prevention of lower respiratory tract disease caused by respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, in adults 60 years of age and older. Abrysvo is not for everyone and may not protect all who receive the vaccine. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its ingredients. People with a weakened immune system may have a decreased response to Abrysvo. The most common side effects are tiredness, headache, pain at the injection site, and muscle pain. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Traffic and weather together, again brought to you by Sinclair. Save up to 20 cents with Dino Pay. Heather Kelly, it's nice not to be playing the emergency traffic sounder right here.
Yeah, we still have almost stopped traffic eastbound I-215 between Redwood Road and I-15, but 3 left lanes are open, so traffic is moving. It's just sort of crawling along as these residual delays clear out in the Murray area between Taylorsville and Murray. And then northbound I-15 down in Utah County has reopened. You have 1 left lane that is getting through, and that has cleared out all the delays we had from Santaquin into Payson, and most everybody else is traveling at speed. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
You can expect snow for the rest of the day today. Looks like even better chance tomorrow. Highs are going to remain in the 30s, probably around 36, 38 degrees. The storm intensifies overnight. The valley expecting to get a few inches, but this weekend we could get 2 to 4 feet in some of the canyons as the next round of this storm comes through. Right now in Salt Lake City, it looks like it's dry for the moment, 34 degrees. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. The D2 Follow-Up Report. We stay connected to important stories to give you the latest.
We have a lot more information that's been developing over the last couple of days about the man who died at the Salt Lake International Airport earlier this week, that he was likely suffering a mental health crisis in that moment before he ran out that emergency exit, Dave. He ran across the runway, crawled into an engine intake area of a running plane. We now believe that the plane was running. Police updated us on that information. It was in the de-ice pad area. We've learned from his family that he's been dealing with bipolar disorder for a decade, and that the night he got to the airport, he was held up at TSA at the checkpoint, and it sounds like he missed his flight.
He is just so manic at that point that he just didn't have any rational thoughts.
And sometimes these events, if there's a high-stress situation, it can exacerbate a situation. And if he had missed a flight and TSA perhaps had detained him or slowed him down, you can see perhaps where the anxiety would have increased.
I listened to an interview that KSL Television did yesterday with the parents and his sister, and it's just so heartbreaking. And they're so gracious to be speaking out about this because their goal is to help others, other families who may be going through this, other patients who may be experiencing symptoms of bipolar disorder. Now, Kyler was 30 years old, and he was a Park City resident. I looked at his Facebook page because I wanted to know more about him, and it looks like he was an avid skier. If that photo that he had as his profile picture is him, wow. Wow. I mean, just an amazing skier. And he has what millions of Americans have, bipolar disorder. Here's his dad speaking to KSL5 Television.
After 10 years of bipolar, we've learned to kind of see those signs. But, so that was let's get you a ticket, and he headed to the airport Monday. And I think he maybe miscalculated the travel. He got held up in TSA, and, he's texting me at that point saying, hey, I'm stuck, can you help me? Because I travel quite a bit. So he was asking for advice and trying to get through, and so he finally gets through, and it was literally 5 minutes before his flight. So I was like, Kyler, you can run, but this doesn't look great. I got this, I'm going to do it attitude. And he did sort of get there right as the gate shut and they wouldn't reopen it. And, all those triggers, the texts I got right after that, I could tell was elevated. So I called and, then he wanted to reschedule the flight to Denver and did. I encouraged him to come home and sleep and we can do this tomorrow. And probably 3 phone calls, just please come home. This doesn't feel right to me. And he just was determined. And, I love him for his determination, but I knew this was headed in the wrong direction.
Oh, Debbie, listening to a father describe this, and what seems like an everyday occurrence. People miss flights all the time. But his father, as he was explaining that, he could sense it was spinning out of control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Multiple phone calls, texts that are happening, and the worst happened.
Amy Kobabe, KSL News Radio reporter, you've been covering this story as well. What a heartbreaking account. And now we know so much more about what Kyler has been going through for 10 years and also what likely happened that night at the airport.
Yeah, and leading up to this, too, just to add a level of stress, was Kyler was trying to get to Denver to visit his dying grandfather. So already, a lot of emotional stress on this family. That's why his dad bought him that ticket, was he wanted to go see his grandfather one more time. And that bipolar disorder is something his family says, he's dealt with. But it caused some problems for him even just to get help. With his tormentors in high school are likely, his family says, what kind of triggered bipolar. He had some bullies, and those bullies, part of their bullying was saying, you need professional help. And so it made it even harder for his family to encourage him when he needed help to get that help, because it was almost like, making it sound like he was validating those bullying.
Amy, here's his mom talking about the bullying that went on in high school and what you just alluded to with the friends or the people at high school, the bullies at high school, I should say.
He always thought by not getting professional help, he wasn't validating those bullying claims.
So the family's message, when I was watching the reporting that KSL 5 and yourself have been doing, is please seek help. Get the therapy that you need and seek the proper treatments that you need to deal with bipolar disorder and other mental health issues.
Absolutely. One thing that his dad said that I think is really important to mention is that there are millions of Americans with bipolar who are fully functioning adults. They don't have episodes like this in public that end so tragically because they are getting the help that they need. And he wants to change his life a bit now to help families with kids that have bipolar to get that help, to find what he calls the middle ground of stability. And so, this, he says that's really what Kyler would have wanted him to do.
Amy, was there anything more that the family knew or had been explained as far as what had happened or what he might have been trying to do or what happened after he started to spiral?
They're still waiting for some security footage to kind of piece those gaps together, because there was at one point a worker maybe at one of the restaurants or kiosks that called security, and his dad said, God bless her for trying to help, but likely he was feeling like maybe he was being targeted by TSA already, and then to get security called on him, that's likely when he ran. And then there was a couple of gates that shouldn't have really opened, emergency gates that did. One security guard even told his dad, we're so sorry, we just couldn't get to him in time. He was fast. and it all just spiraled.
So sad. We know you and others in the newsroom, of course, our reporters and producers will be continuing to track the developments at the airport and what happened and if there'll be any changes made as a result of Kyler's death. But thank you so much for this update. And thanks to the family for speaking up about this. Next, we're going to speak to an expert, a psychologist, about the signs and symptoms of bipolar disorder.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Jeff Kaplan here for my good friends at Advanced Window Products. Jake Weber and Nate Orchard are spreading the holiday cheer with their biggest sale of the year. If the wind whistles through your windows, if you want a fresh new look for your number one investment, your home, call Advanced Window Products and take advantage of this incredible end-of-year sale. Replace all of your windows and frames and you get $2,500 off. But that's not all. You get a free premium glass upgrade. Insulate your home against the cold with double pane windows and stylish frames, any style, any color, and they're built custom right here at their headquarters in Salt Lake City for 37 years. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. Plus, an additional $2,500 off and a free premium glass upgrade. You can save now, pay later, so take advantage. Call now, Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100, 801-850-9100, or visit AdvancedWindowsUSA.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. Opening a My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal record and interactive tools tailored for you. You can see if you are eligible to receive benefits, view spousal benefit estimates, and compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates when you want to start receiving benefits. Already receiving benefits? Use your account to change your address, set up or change direct deposit, get a proof of income letter, and more. In most states, you can also request a replacement Social Security card. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Tim and Amanda.
You know, we've been doing this, 30 years, Tim? We know that the news can be heavy. We know that it can be difficult sometimes to listen to or understand. But that doesn't mean that we're supposed to live in that down place every day. We learn the news, we're educated so we can take care of our families. But then, you know what? We go out and have a good day.
Well, I think both of us come from the standpoint, we have families, we have kids that are coming up at different ages. Yours are younger than mine. Mine are grown adults. But we always try and look for the bright side, I think, because we all want to have that in our lives.
And it's there. There is a bright side.
There is a bright side out there. And so we look for those opportunities each day to hopefully send that message to you, even if it's not directly, in words, that at least in sentiment, things are going to be okay.
Do you know what I like to tell people? The news is the exception, not the rule. So if there's violence in the news, that's the exception. The rule is most of us are safe and happy and doing okay.
Amen.
Utah's morning news between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, police are investigating a shooting that took place at a high school in Iowa. One person has been confirmed dead. Second, traffic still bogged down on Utah's freeways this morning after not one, but two semi-truck rollovers. And third, a 13-year-old boy has become the only human ever to beat Nintendo's original Tetris. They said it couldn't be done. We're going to look for a high today in the upper 30s, and right now in Salt Lake City, dry for the moment, 34 degrees. Now back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
David Dujanovic.
We've learned that the man who died at the Salt Lake International Airport this week on New Year's night was likely suffering a mental health crisis in the moment. Before he ran out the emergency exit and across the runway and crawled into an engine intake of a running aircraft. We now learned from the family that he's been dealing with bipolar disorder for 10 years. And that night, his dad said he got held up at TSA, kind of miscalculated the amount of time that it would take to get to his flight, was basically running through the airport, and then the doors closed to his flight just before he got there, and they wouldn't let him on the plane. He was going to see Grandpa, who's not doing so well in Denver.
And I think this is something that we've all experienced. We've been late to a plane or we've missed a flight, and you feel that apprehension and the anxiety. But when you couple that with bipolar disorder, that's where I think a lot of us don't understand how dangerous that can be.
Here's the dad talking about that moment when the doors closed, Dave, from Lindsay Aerts of KSL 5 Television.
And he did sort of get there right as the gate shut, and they wouldn't reopen it. And, you know, all those triggers, the texts I got right after that, I could tell was elevated.
It's just such a sad situation and an unfortunate chain of events that seemed to trigger this mental health crisis that Kyler was experiencing at the airport. Now, he's 30 years old. Police are still investigating this situation. But as Dave and I were learning more about what was happening to Kyler, we reached out to Dr. Tom Golightly, who's a psychologist at BYU. He couldn't join us live today, but he did talk to us at about 8 o'clock this morning. We had a lot of questions to ask him. Dave, what was top of mind for you?
Well, quite frankly, I don't know a lot about bipolar disorder. And in the past, it's been called manic depression. They've kind of pivoted away from that, and they've described it as bipolar disorder. But I don't know how long it lasts, how long the episodes, how severe it can be, and then how it is managed.
Yeah, and we asked him to start talking to us from the patient's perspective.
One of the difficulties, I think, in talking about something like this, it was very visible. It's newsworthy for a reason. A vast majority of people with bipolar disorder manage very well with a combination of medication and talk therapy. And so many folks suffering from bipolar have successful, good outcomes in life. But those that are struggling to manage, they're going to go through really, really wide mood swings, meaning that in a manic episode like they were describing, there can be dangerous, out-of-control behavior. It's really impulsive, and they can show extreme irritability, out-of-control spending, out-of-control shopping, maybe even drug, alcohol, sexual acting out, and so borderline illegal or crossing the line to illegal behavior. And then there's also the other side of it, which is really, really, really low mood, meaning deep depression. And depression that's usually deeper than those suffering from depression. So the lethargy, suicidality, the social distancing, pulling way, way away, hopelessness, despair, it's kind of the lowest of lows. So you see really, really extreme ends of the spectrum of mood.
On these swings, Dr. Tom, are we talking about a matter of minutes, hours, days?
Generally speaking, it isn't minute by minute. It would be kind of week by week, maybe even month by month. There are some people that we call rapid cycling that would be a lot quicker than that, but it wouldn't necessarily be minutes or hours. It would just be, more of what we call mood is the climate, not the weather. So you kind of have a change in climate as opposed to a change in day-to-day or minute-to-minute kind of interactions.
Do some of these patients feel that there's a stigma with either seeking help or going on medications?
Well, if you, especially in a manic phase, that can be pretty enjoyable, right? So if you feel like you can conquer the world and you're riding really, really high, you don't want to rein that in. So part of the difficulty is helping them recognize, like, hey, no, this is really kind of out of control. It's really elevated, right? So it's not necessarily stigma. It's just that if I treat and I try to moderate my behavior, sometimes that's not as pleasant as just letting it be in a manic phase.
Is this more common at a certain age?
You tend to start to see true manic episodes happen a little bit later, late adolescence, early adulthood. You'll start to see this show up. So it's not something that you would necessarily see in children, but it is something that shows up in early adulthood. And that's a pretty typical course for someone that's struggling with mood disorders in general, but especially with a bipolar disorder like this.
Is it something that you would grow out of the older you get, or does it get worse the older you get?
Generally, this is something that's going to need to be managed. It's difficult to say for every patient, right? But for most people, like I said, it's going to be managed better. And the more mature, the older that you get, it does become a little bit easier to seek that treatment, to know what medications have worked. It's part art, part science to treat. So some of it's finding the right therapist, it's finding the right medication, and it's trying to just keep things right in balance and right in between. So it doesn't necessarily ease with age, but people respond to treatments with more maturity, more experience of, oh, this is what it feels like when I'm entering a manic episode, or this is what it feels like when I'm becoming really, really depressed. So they're more aware of what to do and how to manage behaviorally and medically.
We're speaking with Dr. Tom Golightly. He's a psychologist with BYU. And we're talking to him because this incident that happened earlier this week at the Salt Lake International Airport, where a man breached an emergency exit and then seemed to have thrust himself into the engine intake area of a plane, where he was eventually pronounced dead by police who'd caught up to him. Dr. Tom, it's taken a lot, I think, for the family, and I am very impressed with them to come forward, and they've been speaking about this because they want to help others, and they want to help others recognize the signs and the symptoms, and that there's hope and help out there. Speak to us from a psychological point of view, from a family member who's trying to get help for somebody who's going through this. I'm sure it can be extremely exhausting and at times frustrating.
Well, no worry. If you that list of behaviors from a manic episode, those are dangerous, right? And I think you're worried about what that person is going to do. And so there is kind of this constant worry, especially if they're in a manic episode at the time. Let's try to get them help, but man, I just hope they're not doing anything too dangerous to themselves for their long-term health. And I do admire the family for coming out at this stage, even so quickly after the event. That's remarkable on their part. But there's a lot of empathy I have for these families that are kind of managing those types of events, and it can be really, really tricky to help an individual. And one of the things that I think would be important for family is to have a plan with the individual when they're not in that manic phase. How can we help you when you get to that area? Help us understand your experience and kind of have a little bit of an outline or a crisis plan for when they're starting to experience those things, so that you know what to do and that what would be most helpful for that individual when they start going into that manic episode.
Dr. Tom Golightly, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Yeah, very powerful. Thank you, Dr. Tom Golightly. Even if the behavior is self-destructive, it's hard to ask for help.
KSL Salt Lake City. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio,
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Traffic is moving again on I-15 through Payson after a fatal accident there early this morning. 2 women died when their car crashed into a semi that had rolled over in the northbound lanes. Right now, 1 lane is open past the accident scene. And we're learning more now about a semi-rollover that caused serious delays on I-215 South Belt in Murray this morning. Utah Highway Patrol tells KSL News Radio the semi hit an abandoned vehicle that was parked on the side of the road. The truck was hauling construction site waste, and that was strewn all over the freeway when it rolled. Thankfully, the driver is okay. Utah Governor Spencer Cox calling for the legislature to expand the state's child tax credit as part of his yearly budget. Family advocates, though, think it should go a step further. Here's KSL News Radio's Adam Small.
As it stands now, Utah parents making no more than $54,000 a year can get the full $1,000 credit for kids between 1 and 3. But KSL.com reports Governor Spencer Cox wants to up the age to 5 years old. However, Voices for Utah Children is calling for lawmakers to also include newborns.
The group says encompassing newborns impacts nearly twice as many kids in the 1 to 5 range all by itself. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Another deadly school shooting. Law enforcement says at least one person has been killed at Perry High School northwest of Des Moines, Iowa. Dallas County Sheriff Adam Infante says they got notice of an active shooter at about 7:37 local time before school started.
Officer first arrived within 7 minutes of that activation and located multiple gunshot victims.
Sheriff Infante says there's now no danger to the public. Police still not clear about the number hurt or the extent of their injuries. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day so far, 195 points. The NASDAQ, though, is down about 8 points. And our KSL weather, we've gotten rid of the dirty air, and now we've got just a little snow. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Start the new year on the right note. Join the Utah Symphony January 4th through 6th for a program featuring the work Beethoven himself considered one of his best. Experience world-class musicians performing his exhilarating 7th Symphony, along with works by Mozart and more. Plus, before the performance, everyone, even adults, can try a musical instrument at our instrument petting zoo in the lobby. Tickets start at $21. Get yours at utahsymphony.org. Listen to the greatest classical hits from the 1700s to today. The Utah Symphony's Masterworks concerts offer elegant and entertaining evenings at Marisa Brovnal Hall in the heart of Salt Lake City, featuring timeless masterpieces by Beethoven, Dvorak, and Mozart, and even world premieres from modern composers. Tickets start as low as $21. Get yours at utahsymphony.org.
It's a mystery where Old Spice finds its amazing scents like Himalayan sea salt, but I'm thrilled they have because no other body wash exfoliates and moisturizes 24/7 like Old Spice Gentleman's Himalayan Sea Salt Body Wash. Now, if only there was a mountain range separating the Indian subcontinent from the Tibetan plateau where I could hide my Old Spice and keep my family from stealing it, my impossibly smooth skin will finally be safe.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-330-2929. That's 800-330-2929. 800-330-2929.
Have you heard of IRS Tax Code Section 1.408A-4? It sounds complicated, but it's a simple tax law thousands of Utah families are using to lock in lower tax bills when they retire. If you've saved at least $200,000 for retirement, and some of this money is in an IRA or 401k, it could save you tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars in future tax bills. You can find out how much you could save by requesting a free and confidential retirement tax savings analysis. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions, a 5-time winner of Utah's Best of State Award. For your free retirement tax analysis, call 801-896-9622. 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair. Save up to 20 cents with DinoPay. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, traffic is still at a crawl on I-215. This is eastbound between Redwood Road and the I-15 South interchange in the Murray area. It's still due to a truck that rolled earlier this morning. The right lane and shoulder remain blocked, and that's what has slowed people down through the area. You're going to have to add about 5 extra minutes to your commute through that small stretch of freeway. Everybody else is at speed. Northbound I-15 is open again in Payson after it had been closed for over 6 hours this morning. Don't miss the Rocky Mountain Gun Show January 6th and 7th at Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. Get 500 rounds of 9mm ammo for just $95. RockyMountainGunShow.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather cloudy today with light snow in the valleys. More snow showers expected tomorrow afternoon. Then a bigger storm arrives Saturday night and Sunday with up to 4 inches of snow in the valley locations and a foot or more in the mountains. And right now, 34 degrees with light snow. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Current AG for the state of Utah, Attorney General Sean Reyes announced a few weeks ago, it was in December, that he would not be seeking re-election. And several candidates have already tossed their hats into the ring to be the state's next Attorney General. Rachel Terry is one of them, and she just filed her paperwork to make it official. And then she raced over here to KSL. Thankfully, we're only a few blocks away from the Capitol. And she made it here in time to talk to us about what her goals are.
Open seats are so fascinating because there's such an advantage if you're an incumbent to be reelected. So we're seeing this with Mitt Romney, who decided not to run, Sean Reyes, who's decided not to run. So, Rachel Terry, thank you for joining us. Best of luck, and let's find out what you want to do with the AG's office.
All right. Well, thank you for letting me be here today. As you mentioned, I just filed an hour ago.
Congrats.
Thank you. I'm really excited about this. I've been thinking about it for years and years. People have been encouraging me, and now is the time to jump in. It's a critical time for our state, and I want to be a part of making sure that the way the Attorney General's office runs, that it really is protecting the state of Utah, Utahns, and its resources.
Now, you've been a practicing attorney in Utah for a couple decades now.
That's right.
You've worked with the State Office of Education. You've also been an assistant AG under Reyes?
That's right. I was in the civil rights litigation section, and so I got to work on a lot of really big, really important cases for the state while I was there, dealing with a lot of complex issues that impact people. And I loved working there. Those were some of the best attorneys and professionals I've ever worked with, and I loved it. And now I'm the director for the Utah Division of Risk Management. And what we do at risk management is when things get broken, we fix them. We handle the lawsuits, we handle property damage, and it's kind of that unseen work that you don't realize is impacting your life every day, which is kind of like how the Attorney General's office is people don't realize that the work that they're doing in the office is impacting them every single day. Those attorneys and professionals are investigating the bad guys and putting them in prison. They're working on advising universities, school districts, helping the Division of Natural Resources as they're working through their permits and their hunting licenses, policies, and forms. They're advising on public lands issues. They're working on water. Anything that's happening in the state of Utah that touches the law, the Attorney General's office is doing. And people don't get to see that all the time, but it really is impacting their daily lives. And it just felt like time to make sure that we're connecting the office with the people of the state, and that's what I'm here to do.
I think that's in part what is so confusing about the role of the Attorney General's office is because you do have your fingers and your toes, everything in everything. So it's hard to maybe focus or say, okay, well, what is going to be your singular focus? Is there a passion that you have or a direction that you would lead the Attorney General's office?
Yes. So in form and substance, two different things. inform, it's really making sure that the people in the state of Utah trust their attorney general and trust their attorney general's office to do the work that they've asked them to do. And then substantively, the things that I'm really concerned about and care about is dealing with federal overreach. And we have to realize what that means, because it can be very abstract. Well, we're talking about federal overreach in terms of our lands, in terms of our water, in terms of our laws. It impacts education. The federal government gets really involved in how our K through 12 and our universities are working and telling them what they can and can't do that may or may not fit the values of the state of Utah. And then the other is making sure that we continue the fight on social media, because the mission of the Attorney General's office, the stated mission, is to protect the state of Utah, its people, and its resources. Well, what better resource than our children? And social media has been such a harmful, albeit also useful, but has really harmed a lot of kids, and making sure that we are fighting back on the harm that is caused through social media continues to be a goal, and working and supporting our professionals who are dealing with really hard cases, both criminal for example, there's a task force, the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, that's doing incredibly important work to protect our children. And so these are the substantive things that I want to really focus on. And the best way to do that is to give the office the resources they need to advocate and support the state of Utah.
Rachel Terry is an attorney in Utah, is working with the Attorney General's office currently as an assistant AG. You work there, and running now for the top spot in the office for Attorney General. She just filed moments ago, raced over here to Broadcast House to be live with us on the air. We always appreciate having people in the moment when the big things are happening, and this is a big deal. We know there have been others who have entertained the idea, others who have filed, including one of our former coworkers here, Derek Brown. We've spoken to him already, and so glad that you could join us as well. Let's talk about that new law that is passed in Utah to make sure that kids are not using social media without their parents' permission, and that there's an age requirement. Are you on board with that law? Do you support it?
I do support it. So I have 13-year-old twins, and so this is particularly top of mind for me. Right before I filed, my daughter had asked me if she could get some social media accounts. I said, absolutely not. You're 13 years old. This isn't good for your not fully formed brain. And that's a decision that I got to make it as a parent, and every parent should get to make that for their child. And so making sure that there's age verification, making sure that those platforms, algorithms are not marketing things to children they shouldn't be. Social media is also a way that predators, online predators, are accessing children. I can tell you from my work with the Board of Education, I had investigated cases. Every single one of those cases involving boundary violations or sexual abuse started with some kind of social media platform. And so making sure that we are keeping our children safe is top of mind for me, because it's personal to me and to my community.
Is there anything that we're overly focused on? Maybe something that we're cracking down on too hard? Is there anything that comes to mind where you said, you know what, we've been dedicating resources, energy, and even does that am I articulating that?
Yes. What I would say is that sometimes the office can get a little bit distracted on things that are focused outside of the state of Utah. While we want to be a good neighbor to other states who are fighting their fights, and they matter to us too, what we have to do is to step back and say, okay, is what we're doing really benefiting the state of Utah? Because there's always limited time and limited resources, and those should be focused on what's best for the state and not being distracted by any other endeavors that take away from the work of the office that benefits the citizens of the state of Utah.
Are you insinuating, for example, when AG Reyes went down to Las Vegas to review the voting situation down there after President Trump lost the re-election campaign, would you have done that if you were AG at the time?
I'm not referencing any particular activity, and I'm not even referencing Sean Reyes specifically. What I'm saying is that for me, it's really about focusing what's best for the state of Utah, whether it's joining a lawsuit with other states, whether it's working with a particular national or international group. Is this going to benefit the people in the state of Utah? That should be the number one question. And again, that's not to say let's not be good neighbors and let's not support good causes throughout the world. But when you have limited time and resources, you've really got to focus on what matters here and what's going to matter to individual people's lives, which are, education, energy, taxes, infrastructure, even things. My husband's a hunter. He loves it. And making sure that we have good wildlife policies and laws, that we are fighting for the things that make Utah a wonderful place to live. And for him, that means access to the outdoors, and it means being able to have access to hunting.
Well, I'm sure this isn't going to be the last time we speak. Rachel Terry, thank you. Just filed to run for Attorney General, so we appreciate your time and look forward to talking to you in the future.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Moments ago, in the 9 o'clock hour, we spoke live with Representative Celeste Malloy, just getting back from the southern border. She went with a group of GOP lawmakers from the House of Representatives to see what was going on in Eagle Pass, Texas.
We really don't have a choice. We have to have control of our border.
Next, we'll hear more from Celeste Malloy and also check in live with News Nation, who's at the southern border as lawmakers were paying a visit there.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
This U.S. Senate race gets better by the day.
Elections officials say next week's deadline may catch some by surprise.
Congressman John Curtis in studio with us live.
This is a major life decision.
Democrats say they will run a candidate, but haven't yet said who.
Get updates on who's running each morning this week and get analysis on the candidates later in the day. Listen to Dave and Dujanovic at 9 and Boyd Matheson at 1. Your voice, your vote 2024. This week
on KSL News Radio.
Give the star in your life the brightest gift in the world. Name a star after them. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can name a star for birthdays, weddings, or even memorials. Over 45 years, we have named millions of stars for celebrities and individuals from around the world. The star you name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, a Pfizer vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Paid for by government.com.
The 1878 to 1921 Morgan Silver Dollar, a true American classic and one of the most iconic silver dollar coins in history. It's been 100 years since the last Morgan Silver Dollar coin was struck for circulation. And now, for a limited time only, full pound bags of original U.S. government-struck Morgan dollars are being released to the public. That's right, you can own a full pound of 1878 to 1921 classic American Morgan Silver Dollar coins, all in very good collector condition with fully visible dates and mint marks, guaranteed. Call 1-800-473-0864 now to secure collector-grade U.S. Morgan Silver dollars by the pound, struck during the Wild West and the Gilded Age. Plus, receive a bonus American Collector's Pack, valued at over $25, free with every order. Call 1-800-473-0864 now to secure your full pound bag of Morgan Silver Dollar coins before they are gone. 1-800-473-0864. That's 1-800-473-0864.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a fatal crash involving a semi-rollover closed I-15 in Payson this morning, while another big truck wreck snarled traffic in Taylorsville. Second, Utah Governor Cox wants to see the state expand its child tax credit. And third, at least one person has been killed in a school shooting this morning in Iowa. Right now, 34 degrees with light snow in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, it sounded like she'd just gotten off a plane. I'm not quite sure about that, but Representative Celeste Beloy, back from the southern border, called the show. In the 9 o'clock hour, she'd gone to Texas to see firsthand what is going on in Eagle Pass, Texas. It's a major border crossing there. And here's what she told us.
That it's not a partisan issue in that part of Texas. You know, Republican, Democrat, recent immigrants, everybody's had it. Their systems are overwhelmed, and that is what I saw there. The sheriffs we talked to are beleaguered. The Border Patrol we talked to is, you know, they have a good attitude about their jobs, but they're overwhelmed. They're processing paperwork instead of patrolling and picking people up. So my takeaway is we really don't have a choice. We have to have control of our border.
News Nation's Allie Bradley joins us right now. A border correspondent is in Eagle Pass. Are you still there, Allie?
Yes, I am still down here, and it was present there for that congressional delegation yesterday.
As we were talking to Representative Malloy, she said what surprised her was it had looked like everyone had been kind of removed from the area, or maybe processed, that the cartels had perhaps. What did you see?
So there are multiple factors here at play when it comes to what was going on down in Eagle Pass. We all saw the images and the videos coming out of this area just 2 weeks ago where there were more than 4,000 people waiting to be transported. There were more than 5,600 people in the soft-sided facility here. That's only supposed to hold 1,000. So, yes, everything was absolutely at max capacity and beyond. And then just, you know, when these congressional lawmakers announced that they were coming down here, resources were pretty much surged to this area from all different sectors. They were kind of doing what they've always done and robbing Peter to pay Paul and moving agents from different sectors into Eagle Pass in order to speed up that transport and processing. So that is one of the factors. Another factor is that they spoke very openly about how the cartel is controlling the flow of people. Representative Tony Gonzalez here, this is his district, and he was talking about how that is exactly what's happening. They can flip the switch and turn it off and turn it on. And what sources confirmed to us here at News Nation is that the cartel right now, what they're doing is holding a lot of people over in Mexico because they're about to celebrate Three Kings Day. They celebrate holidays too. And they don't have plaza bosses to actually move migrants into the country illegally. So these small groups that we actually did see crossing yesterday, and I've seen a couple here today as well, those people are likely moving without the help of the cartel because the cartel isn't really actively moving people into the nation right now, and that's why we aren't seeing big surges in Texas. Now, we are still seeing some people crossing in the Lukeville area in Arizona. That's the sector that got hit hardest last month. Sources confirm we saw over 80,000 people come into that sector out of the 302,000 that crossed last month alone.
Allie Bradley is live with us in Eagle Pass, Texas, where a very large contingent of Republican lawmakers headed down to the southern border. It was yesterday, including Representative Celeste Malloy of Utah. Burgess Owens of Utah also went. He'll be joining Boyd Matheson's show later today to talk about his takeaways. Did you get a sense that they're going to do more than just talk about this in front of the news cameras, Allie, that there'll actually be some movement in D.C.?
You know, that was a big conversation I had personally with these lawmakers down here because this was Representative Gonzalez's 21st congressional delegation that he's hosted down here. I said, what makes this different than the other kind of dog and pony shows, if you will, because nothing has been done, right? 3 years into this, the numbers are the highest we've ever seen. So what's going to be done? Now, what the message really was is showing up matters. Coming here, keeping the pressure on, keeping the momentum and the conversations going is what is going to make a difference when they bring this information back to their constituents. Like you mentioned, those lawmakers from Utah that were down here are bringing that information they've learned back to their constituents. Now, they are saying that they are kind of putting pressure on the administration. They're saying they're willing to have a government shutdown if the border is not shut down. Obviously, they're sitting on some funding debates right now, but the issue is none of them want a government shutdown, but they're saying they're prepared for one if they don't get that border security funding that they want. Because a big problem right now is that the funding that's being proposed is kind of what they say is a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. It's for more processing facilities. It's for more people to be able to transport and process people. It's not to slow the flow. And again, we saw the highest numbers we've ever seen along the southern border last month. And so these individuals in the Republican Party that are fighting back are saying, well, we want border security. We want to slow the flow. We don't want to just keep funding the processing of people. And that's what the issue is right now.
Allie, can you help us understand comparatively what it is looking like down there as far as numbers going? I've seen reports that 300,000 or so people came just last month.
Right, and that is something that our sources within CBP were able to confirm with News Nation. 302,000 individuals crossed into the country last month alone, and DHS is talking about how most of those individuals don't qualify for asylum, right? We know that, but we are still letting people come in and go through the process, and it's to the tune of 245,000 of those 302,000. They were released with a notice to appear into the country. And 45,000 of that group, of the 302, they use the CBP One app. So hardly anybody was removed last month who crossed into the country. And again, DHS saying most of those people don't qualify. And you guys, a lot of these court cases that we're seeing, these court hearings, these NPAs, the notices to appear that they're being given, are in 2029. Some of them are in 2031. And that's the reality down here. And you see 80,000 people streamed into the Tucson sector alone last month. More than 60,000 into the Del Rio sector, which is where we are here in Eagle Pass. And so those are numbers coming from CBP. Now, the previous high, for comparison, 269,000 in September of 23. So 302,000 up from the high of 269,000. That is the scope and the reality down here right now. Again, this is not slowing down. If anything, it's sped up, but we are seeing a lull in January. That is typical. That is very, very, that's a trend that we see every year. I've looked through CBP data from my sources, and we confirm that every time between basically the end of the Christmas holiday and before January 10th, we see a pretty big dip. And again, in part because Three Kings holiday is on January 6th, something that is heavily celebrated over in Mexico.
Allie Bradley, thank you.
Great reporting, Allie, as always.
Well,
thank you so much, guys. Be well.
Yeah, you too. Stay safe.
When I look at listen to those numbers, as she said, over 300,000 people showing up just in December. I look back to 2017, and that was really the first year of Donald Trump. 310,000 in 1 year. An entire year's worth showed up in December.
Okay. Who's waiting until 2030 for a hearing?
That's a great point. Hey, we're going to need you to show up in about 5 to 7 years.
Get out of town. You can, if we had that happening in our courthouse in downtown Salt Lake City, we'd think you're out of your minds. We're not waiting 7 years to have a hearing, 8 years to have a hearing. To me, that stood out as just a glaring issue that needs to be dealt with right away. We've got to reduce this hearing time. Nobody's waiting around and doing it the legal pathway for 7 or 8 years.
And no one is worried 5 to 7 years down the road. Be like, I will address that way down the road. But this is the very point that I think Republican lawmakers are making, and this is what Allie was reporting, is they don't want to just process folks more. They don't want to throw more resources to processing. They want to start turning people away.
They want the Remain in Mexico policy. Yeah, they want the Remain in Mexico policy. But then, and this is what we need to explore. We'll explore this in the 11 o'clock hour. Then what do you do with the farmers in the hospitality industry who rely so heavily on workers from other countries who are willing to come here and work? You can't just leave everybody in Mexico. And then what happens here? Are kids going to take those jobs? I don't know one of my kids who've said, I want to go work on a farm for a living. Not one, not even, none of their friends either have said that. So we've got to figure out a balance. We'll continue to dig into this in the 11 o'clock hour. Great reporting by Alley down in along the Texas southern border there in Texas and Eagle Pass. What a mess. What an absolute mess. They need to put all those lawmakers in a room, like Boyd has said a million times. Work it. Do not come out. We're going to put pizza under the door. Do not come out until you deal with this. And you got to start with this hearing process. No one's waiting around for 7 years for a hearing. My goodness.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Utah's newest member of Congress traveled to the border with Mexico with the Speaker of the House to learn more about the pressure on communities such as Eagle Pass, Texas. Representative Celeste Malloy told Dave and Dujanovic the huge crowds we saw in December weren't there when they arrived.
By the time we got there, the flow had slowed to a trickle, so they'd moved everybody out. If they'd have had the same inflow when we were there that they had during the holidays, there'd have still been lines.
Malloy says the House has already passed a funding bill for border security, but they're waiting to see if the Senate passes it as well. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A deadly school shooting northwest of Des Moines, Iowa. Law enforcement says at least one person was killed at Perry High School early this morning, the first day back from winter break. Amy Smith works at the middle school, also on the premises.
It was scary, everyone was shaken up. You had so much emotions running through your head, thinking, why our little town?
The Dallas County Sheriff says police are working to find out the number of victims and the extent of their injuries. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up 115 points on the day so far. The NASDAQ, though, is down about 15 points. And our KSL weather, we're getting a little bit of snow. That's going to turn into a lot of snow by the weekend. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors to tell you about our 10-year everything guarantee. Most contractors spout off having great warranties that last forever. But those warranties are always, and I do mean always, riddled with loopholes, exception, fine print, and nonsense. At RGS Exteriors, we cover everything. Parts, labor, material, everything and anything for 10 full years. There's no cost to you whatsoever. No hoops to jump through, no exceptions. Yes, the products we sell, like James Hardy Siding, our windows, gutter covers, come with a 25 to 50-year manufacturer's warranty, just like everybody else. But the truth is, the products almost never fail. It's always the labor and material which is never covered, so you're stuck paying for service calls. For peace of mind, call RGS Exteriors. You'll sleep easy for 10 full years. 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsutah.com. That's 801-280-3110 or online rgsutah.com. Gutters, siding, windows, and all exteriors with the 10-year everything guarantee.
The Salt Lake Chamber is Utah's voice for business. Okay, that sounds great, but what does it really mean? Well, as Utah's largest and longest-standing business association, they support and champion community prosperity throughout the state. And if you're in business, well, that's a very good thing for you. Be sure to listen to the Chamber's Speaking on Business, weekdays at 7:20, 11:55, and 5:20 p.m. on KSL News Radio.
The story of the nurse and the foot pain that nearly brought him down.
I feel like I'm giving people their lives back.
Robert lived to take care of his patients, but he couldn't do it unless he took care of his foot pain.
I have plantar fasciitis. It'll almost put you on your knees. That's how much it hurts.
His own recovery started when he got fitted for arch supports at the Good Feet store.
Now that I'm pain free, I can make these people feel better.
Can't beat that. Stop by or schedule your free fitting at goodfeet.com. The universal truth of women's shoes. The cuter they are, the more they hurt.
You have to put your best foot forward, and if your best foot is an ugly shoe, oh my goodness.
Lisa Ann thought she had to choose between looking good and feeling good until she got fitted for arch supports at the Good Feet store.
Now I can wear the shoes that I've picked out because I like the way they look, not because they were comfortable.
Good Feet relieved her pain and her fashion dilemma. Stop by or schedule your free fitting.
Stop by the Good Feet store in Farmington, Riverton, or Sandy for a free fitting. Call 1-800-NEW-FEET or visit goodfeet.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair. Save up to 20 cents with DinoPay. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, northbound I-15 in Payson is still down to one left lane that is open. This is due to an earlier crash that had the entire freeway shut down for more than 6 hours. Now, with everybody filing into the left lane, it is causing delays all the way back into Santa Quin and toward the Juab County line. It's going to take you an extra 30 minutes or so at least to get through a couple of miles of freeway. But once you do, you're at good speeds all the way into the Salt Lake Valley, and we're still cleaning up a crash on the west side belt. This is I-215 as you head east toward the I-15 interchange in Murray. You still have a right lane and shoulder blocked, but no more delays. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, cloudy today with light snow in the valleys. More snow showers expected tomorrow afternoon. Then a bigger storm arrives Saturday night and Sunday with up to 4 inches of snow in valley locations and a foot or more in the mountains. And right now, we're at 34 degrees with light snow. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Nothing like talking about taxes on the radio, and we're going to go big for the next 20 minutes. But this is important stuff for Utah families. It has to do, the first topic we're going to talk about has to do with the child tax credit. And we're learning more information about Utah's child tax credit, which I had no idea we actually had our own child tax credit. There's some calling on the legislature to expand it.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. There is a federal tax credit, child tax credit, and then there's a state one as well. And let me just tell you from a personal perspective, Debbie, I'm taking it in the teeth right now with child tax credits. I'm losing 3 and 4 years. I've had 3 kids age out of the child tax credit. I was bathing in money every tax season. They were just throwing money at me with these children I've had, and now they're too old, and I am just getting killed in taxes right now.
KSL News Radio's Adam Small has some details about Utah's child tax credit.
As it stands now, Utah parents making no more than $54,000 a year can get the full $1,000 credit for kids between 1 and 3. But KSL.com reports Governor Spencer Cox wants to up the age to 5 years old. However, Voices for Utah Children is calling for lawmakers to also include newborns.
All right, so there's this push. It sounds like to expand the child tax credit, and I believe it's $1,000 per child, and it's a Utah thing. I think it's in addition to the federal tax credit, and I can't remember how much we got per kid, but you're right, it's significant. Yeah. It's significant enough that when my kids left the nest or they aged out of the tax credit, I felt
feel it.
I felt broke.
Yeah. You go from getting a return to owing money. It's the worst. Now, I'm a little surprised, though, that newborns weren't included in the first place. Like, why in the world would newborns not be included in the tax credit? That makes no sense to me. No. Yeah. Age 1 to 5, folks. 1 to 5.
Rusty Cannon with the Taxpayers Association here in Utah, live on the line. Always love to turn to you when we're talking about tax code. Good morning, Rusty, and Happy New Year.
Good morning, Happy New Year. I'm smiling because, Dave, I'm going through the exact same thing as both of you.
Yeah, I've
kids
already been
aging
there.
out, and credit is gone.
Yeah, the credit is gone, and they still need money from you. It'll still be the bank of dad. It'll still be the bank of dad that bails them out. But Rusty, let's talk about this child tax credit. And just to be clear, this is $1,000 per child. And right now, as it currently stands, it's age 1 to, my understanding is 3. But there's some who want to expand it, maybe up to 5 years old, and then some groups who say, it needs to be newborns as well. Where does the Taxpayers Association stand on expanding the tax credit?
Well, we think it's a good idea. We don't think it's the best idea, and I can explain, but it's a good idea. They passed a bill this past session in 2023 that establishes the $1,000 one that you mentioned from ages 1 to 3. The governor suggested in his budget, I believe, to move it up to age 5. And maybe close that loophole on the newborns. I'm not sure why that was created that way, but essentially you get that full credit if you're up to, I believe, $54,000, then it starts to phase out. So it's fairly targeted. And so, the amount of tax savings in total is I mean, I don't want to belittle the amount, but it's somewhat low on a state basis, somewhere between 5 and 10 million in tax savings. And so you contrast that with the income tax cut that is possibly coming, that they've set aside already $160 million in cutting income tax for everybody, regardless whether you have children or not.
Yeah, that's a rounding error. 5 to 10 million to a state budget. I mean, that is small potatoes. Now, explain to us that the $1,000 credit, sometimes, does this reduce the taxable income? Is this full on? You get $1,000. How does that work?
It is a pretty fat credit. If you don't, I mean, it is a credit is obviously against the tax you owe. So it really knocks your taxes down quite a bit versus an exemption or something like that is slightly less advantageous. But this is a credit. So this would wipe out a large portion of income tax for those that are earning $54,000 or lower and have children. And obviously that's the design for it. But you do have to fit into that bucket to have it be effective. It phases out after, you're earning more money than that.
Moments ago, Rusty, you said the Taxpayers Association. It sounds like you're lukewarm on the idea, but you thought maybe there's some better ideas out there?
Yes. In our opinion, it's always best to have a broad-based tax cut that helps as many people as possible. I mean, you can go into the idea as to why having children is very important for not only Utah, but for society in general, and it's okay to encourage that. But oftentimes, instead of targeting cuts like this to what might be either politically popular or theoretically popular, it's better to do just a broad-based cut. And so that's why we mentioned it's a good idea. It's just not necessarily the best idea.
My concern, though, is if you take that $10,000 in savings, you spread it out broadly, I'm sure that's going to save me 32 cents.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about just a general income tax rate cut?
Yeah. If you said, we've got 10,000 here that we want to add to this program, and you spread it out to everybody, then it's almost insignificant.
Correct. It depends on the magnitude over time. We got to remember as well, though, if we do cut rate again on the income tax, take it down to 4.55, for example, from the current 4.65, we were at 4.95 just a few years ago. So if you add all that up, all the way down, that is a decent amount of savings to just about everybody that's paying income tax. So over time, it does add up. But yes, these little incremental steps can feel a little small, on a one-off basis.
And as you said, there's a income limit, and $54,000 is not a huge amount of money to be making. Is that for a dual income as well? Does that include it?
I believe that's the dual income. I think the single is lower. I believe it's 54 is for a couple earning that, and so it's fairly targeted. And so the idea is to expand that income limit upward to let more take advantage of it, and then obviously increase the age to the age of 5. But I don't know about you, my kids got more expensive once they went over 5.
Oh, wait till they're adults.
Diapers are a bargain until you get a teenager.
You think they're expensive as teens, Dave and Rusty. Wait till they're in their 20s.
College.
Okay. And they're knocking on the door. Rusty Cannon with the Utah Taxpayers Association. It's so good to hear your take on this. Thanks for joining the show. Look forward to many more conversations throughout the upcoming legislative session up on Utah's Capitol Hill, which Dave and I will be covering certainly heavily along with the rest of our team of reporters and producers here at KSL News Radio. $1,000, when he was saying that, it's like, is that what it's going to take to make that decision to have a child, not have a child? When we looked at some numbers earlier this week, Dave, about the cost of raising 2 kids to the age of 18, and it came in, if I recall, right around $575,000 for 2 kids to the age of 18. I think that's low. I think it's a lot more than that, and that may be the perfect scenario if your child isn't dealing with something like a disease or doesn't get in a terrible car accident or something like that along the way. I'm not sure $1,000 a year is going to cut it.
Every dollar helps at that point.
Yeah,
I remember.
yeah.
If we go back to when we were first having kids in our 20s, $1,000 that matters. Now, when the average cost of a birth is about $6,000 with
out of pocket
with insurance, yeah, I mean it can be expensive. So these incentives, again, I think we've all experienced this on some level that have kids. When you get that tax credit and then you lose it, that changes things. It hurts. So I appreciate the sentiment, what they're doing. I think the $1,000 matters, but nevertheless, if there's a bigger, better tax cut out there, I'm all for that as well.
Next, speaking of tax cuts, told you we're going to give you a half hour full of tax cuts. But I want to really want to talk about this one because there's this new initiative to support adoption. We're going to have a live conversation in just a matter of moments about the new adoption tax credit. Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-859-3220. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 to 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-859-3220. That's 800-859-3220 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-859-3220. 800-859-3220.
Have you heard of IRS Tax Code Section 1.408A-4? It sounds complicated, but it's a simple tax law thousands of Utah families are using to lock in lower tax bills when they retire. If you've saved at least $200,000 for retirement, and some of this money is in an IRA or 401k, it could save you tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars in future tax bills. You can find out how much you could save by requesting a free and confidential retirement tax savings analysis. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions, a 5-time winner of Utah's Best of State Award. For your free retirement tax analysis, call 801-896-9622. 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
If you've ever experienced running out of hot water before your shower was done, or hard water spots on dishes and fixtures, I've got a deal you might be interested in. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and you probably already know that a tankless water heater and a water softener solve both issues. If you've ever thought about looking into getting a tankless water heater, here's the deal I was talking about. Through the end of February, we're including a free water softener with every new tankless water heater we install. The best part of this deal might be that you never have to worry about being the last one to the shower again, or that you don't have to waste the money keeping 40 to 50 gallons of water hot 24/7. To take advantage of this deal, call Any Hour Services before the end of February. The visit's free and there's no obligation to buy. If you decide to have us install a new tankless water heater, we'll throw in the water softener for free. That's right, a free water softener when you purchase a tankless water heater. Pick up the phone and call Any Hour Services right now for all the details. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Looking for the best show deals on new and used RVs? You'll find them only in Ogden during the Northern Utah RV Show, January 11th through the 15th. We're bringing in new and used inventory and low show pricing inside the Golden Spike Event Center. For 4 full days, shop new and used travel trailers, fifth wheels, toy haulers, motorhomes, and more from the nation's top brands. Find early season discount pricing on all new models and fantastic used RV discounts like a 2011 Dutchman 185 DB Sport for just $9,995. You'll also find that every remaining 2023 is being sold at clearance pricing during the event. Plus, get no payments until April on approved credits and huge trade-in offers on your current RV. Go to NorthUtahRVShow.com to shop the best deals first. This show season, you'll find it all in Ogden. Admission and parking are free to the Northern Utah RV Show, January 11th through the 15th inside the Golden Spike Event Center. Open daily at 10 a.m., closed Sunday. Then we're back at it Monday, Martin Luther King Day from 10 to 5. Sponsored by Bishop's RV. Don't miss it.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Utah's newest member of Congress as a group traveling with the House Speaker didn't see the huge crowds trying to cross the border when they visited Eagle Pass, Texas this week. Second, 2 women died this morning when their car crashed into an overturned semi on I-15 in Payson. Third, at least one person was killed today in a school shooting in Iowa. Local authorities still haven't said how many victims were injured. Right now, 34 degrees and light snow in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
I was really curious about this email we got at Broadcast House. And the headline on it is that new adoption tax credit is available for 2023 taxes. And I want to learn more about it because it appears that parents looking into adoption or who have adopted may be eligible for $3,500 tax credit, the year that they finalize their adoption. And I thought, there's probably a lot of children out there who are looking for good homes, long-term homes in foster care and others. And I wondered if this would be an incentive to have people look into adoption. But I wasn't quite sure of all the ins and outs of this.
No, I think this is a great conversation to have, and I think something that I'm certainly not an expert on at all is adoption in general. Adoption can be very expensive. And because it can be expensive, I think it disqualifies, so to speak, a lot of really great potential parents who would love to have to be able to adopt somebody, but it's just financially not that easy. So to make it a little more affordable, to have some credits, I can see where this could open up some great doors.
We're going to speak in a moment to Representative Rex Shipp, who's sponsored and was part of this legislation that passed. I believe was it in the last legislative session, Representative, that this passed?
Yes. Yeah, just this past session.
So walk us through. This is very fascinating to me. Having been a resident in Utah for, so many decades now, 3 decades. Huh. I know that, and a news reporter, I know there are a lot of children who are looking for their home, their forever home, and parents who want to become, they want to adopt. So how does this tax credit work to help families who want to adopt?
Well, it's designed to benefit lower income families, couples. The cost of adoption is so extremely high that it's really not available. They can't afford to adopt. And yet you have some young couples that for one reason or another are not able to have their own physically. There's some issues. And so they would love to adopt, would make great parents, but it's just out of reach for them. I happen to I have 7 children, and I have 3 of them are adopted. We adopted some children after we had our 4, and it was pretty expensive, but we just felt like our family wasn't complete. But a lot of people think that's kind of crazy, but that's the way it is with us. But anyway, so I just decided that we needed to give them some kind of help. I mean, these kids, a lot of them, they need a home, and they want to have a family, and there's options out there for maybe a situation where a person they get pregnant, they weren't expecting that, they're not in a position they feel like to take care of a baby, maybe being a single mother or something, and this gives them an option to place the baby, which has always been an option, but this credit will allow a couple to get a tax credit up to the cost, up to, I think it's a $3,500 tax credit towards the cost, which is not very much when it comes to the total cost, but it's going to help. And I'm just hoping that that'll enable some couples to be able to just get their family going, and we'll have to see how it goes in the future to see if we can change that. But if they make over a certain amount of income, and I didn't look at the
policy right now, so I'm a little bit rusty on it.
I have $110,000 together is the income limit.
Yes.
$55,000 a year separately. Yeah, that's the number
Yes.
I have.
Yeah. So if they make 110 or less, they can get this tax credit, and so it's one of those things I'd like to have seen a little bit different and maybe more money there, but in order to get it passed, the fiscal note was large enough that, and doing some negotiating with our financial folks, our body on the EAC, they said, well, if you can get the fiscal note to this level, we'll fund it. And so that's what we did, and maybe in the future we can help, put a little bit more money towards it, depending on how it works.
I'm going to be honest, Representative. I have no idea how much it costs to adopt a child. I just pulled up an article from the Deseret News, and maybe you can shape this a little bit for me, but it says that the average cost in Utah can range anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 to adopt a child. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, that is accurate. Absolutely. Our youngest child that we adopted, that's now 27 years old now. Back then, 27 years ago, it was about $40,000 to this adoption agency we went through.
Where are these prices coming from? That just seems so extraordinarily high to adopt a child.
Yeah, the adoption agencies, I mean, they have a lot of costs. They're out with their advertising, and then a lot of times the birth mothers are maybe in a position where they need some financial help because they can't work. Maybe they have some health issues. They can't work through the pregnancy, and a lot of times these adoption agencies will help support them until they have the baby, and so there's just there's a lot of turns and twists with it as to what some of those costs are, and honestly, I think a lot of it may be the supply and demand. Frankly, there's a lot of folks out there that would love to adopt, and the fact that they can get that amount of money is probably part of it. I don't know. I'm just speculating on that, but
that was a surprising number to me.
Yeah, hopefully some of these young couples that can't have kids that'll help them out, give them a little bit of help.
Yeah,
so
that's a lot. And thank you so much for sharing your personal journey with us. And the adoption of your 3 children, or 3 additional children. Sounds like you have 7 kids.
7 altogether.
Wow!
Yes.
Congratulations, Representative Rex Schipp, live on the live on us, talking about this adoption tax credit that a lot of Utah families who may be looking into adoption would be interested in knowing about. It's $3,500 of a tax credit that you get the year that you finalize your adoption. He says he acknowledges it's not the amount of money that he wanted. He wanted it to be more. We know why, right? The expense of adopting. But it's something. It's a start. And it sounds like it's a good start.
Yeah. I was truly shocked, Debbie, to hear that an adoption can cost $20,000 to $50,000. So the $3,500 tax credit would maybe help a little bit, but again, this could be maybe 10% of the total cost.
Yeah, it is a lot. What if you have 2 or 3 children that you want to adopt? You're well over $100,000 for 2 or 3 adoptions. It's expensive.
Well, think at what point in your life did you have $20,000 to $50,000? It certainly wasn't in my early 20s. Like that would have been well into my probably 30s before and then that just narrows the pool of potential parents as well.
Next, Boyd Matheson in studio. We spoke earlier today to Representative Celeste Malloy, who is just back from the southern border.
And word is out worldwide, I guess, that our border isn't secure. And so people are showing up expecting to be able to get across, and they can't get to the border without going through territory controlled by the cartels. So the cartels pick them up and extort them and take advantage of them.
Boyd will give us the perspective, the D.C. point of view on what happens next to secure the southern border.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Traffic is moving again on I-15 through Payson after a fatal accident there early this morning. 2 women died when their car crashed into a semi that had rolled over in the northbound lanes. Traffic is now getting by past the accident scene, though there have been delays back to Santaquin through much of the morning. We're hearing from the Pac-12 president for the first time in months, now that the college football season is coming to an end. KSL News Radio's Michael Commit reports.
George Kliavkoff was quick to take credit for the conference's successful season, and he blamed schools for the failed media rights talks with ESPN. He's been heavily criticized for handling those negotiations.
Sports 24/7 has quoted him as saying it's upsetting that some of the schools weren't more patient in negotiating a media rights deal. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Police in Perry, Iowa say 1 person was killed, at least 2 others injured in a shooting at the local high school. Here's ABC News contributor and former FBI agent Brad Garrett with questions investigators should be asking.
The shooter got a weapon into the school. How did he or she do that? What information had he said or she said to other students or talked about online or said to their parents? What change in behavior has there been in him or her in recent days or weeks? Dark thoughts, acquiring weapons, talking about hurting people.
And your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day right now 110 points, while the NASDAQ is down about 20 points. And our KSL weather looks like we've got snow on the way. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Jeff Kaplan here for my good friends at Advanced Window Products. Jake Weber and Nate Orchard are spreading the holiday cheer with their biggest sale of the year. If the wind whistles through your windows, if you want a fresh new look for your #1 investment, your home, call Advanced Window Products and take advantage of this incredible end-of-year sale. Replace all of your windows and frames, and you get $2,500 off. But that's not all. You get a free premium glass upgrade. Insulate your home against the cold with double-pane windows and stylish frames, any style, any color, and they're built custom right here at their headquarters in Salt Lake City for 37 years. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. Plus, an additional $2,500 off and a free premium glass upgrade. You can save now, pay later, so take advantage. Call now, Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100, 801-850-9100, or visit AdvancedWindowsUSA.com.
Start the new year off with a bang of big savings during the Omaha Steaks end-of-season event. You can stock up on all your favorites and get 50% off site-wide. That's 50% off incredible steaks like their legendary Butcher's Cut Filet Mignon, or sink your teeth into their memorable Butcher's Cut Top Sirloin. Just go to omahasteaks.com. Plus, when you use code QUALITY at checkout, you'll get an extra $30 off your order. From perfectly aged tender steaks to juicy burgers, decadent desserts, and classic comfort meals, every bite is guaranteed perfect. For a limited time, get 50% off site-wide. Plus, save an extra $30 when you use promo code QUALITY at checkout. Start the new year off right and warm up your winter with tender steaks and hearty home-cooked favorites from Omaha Steaks. All 50% off with their end-of-season event. Make sure to enter the promo code QUALITY at checkout to get that extra $30 off your order. Minimum purchase may apply.
Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher.
I had no idea what the world of cabinets might hold for me, but Euromax has opened my eyes to what cabinets should be. This is Hans Olsen, and I eat a lot of food. With that comes storing a lot of food, and Euromax has customized that for me. Deep shelves for extra storage, LED lights that come on as the door opens so I can eat at night, charging ports for phones or iPads, spice racks, elevated shelving for cans, glass fronts or specific color and texture fronts, deep pull-out drawers for pots and pans, and all of it waterproof and warranted for life. The perfect place to store my most prized possession, my food. Mike and Max have 35-plus combined years of experience from America to Europe to form the most unique blend of traditional American craftsmanship and authentic European design. You can head to their showroom in Pleasant Grove or check out all the possibilities at EuromaxFurniture.com. Sleek, elegant, innovative design, fashioned in Europe, and installed right here in Utah. That's EuromaxFurniture.com. Euromax, built for you.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair. Save up to 20 cents with Dino Pay. Here's Ricky Meese.
An emergency traffic continues in Utah County where we had this earlier crash. A double fatal that also shut down the freeway for hours on northbound I-15. Now, the accident is as you're approaching 800 South SR 178. That junction is at mile marker 248 in Payson. However, those delays with a right lane still closed still reach all the way back to the Highway 6 junction in Santaquin. Now, if you want to avoid these delays, before you get to the Highway 6 junction and just after that, you can take a detour to SR 198, go through Spring Lake, and then rejoin northbound I-15 at 800 South, just past the Walmart Supercenter. But again, continue to expect delays. Common Spirit, hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advanced healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And our KSL weather looks like we've got light snow today and then some additional snow tomorrow, but the real storm comes in Saturday night and into Sunday when we could see 4 inches of snow in the valleys of the Wasatch Front. Right now, 35 degrees and light snow. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
In a moment, we're going to talk to Boyd Matheson about his takeaways from the GOP delegation that went down to the southern border. They were in a place called Eagle Pass, Texas. If you haven't heard of it, well, plenty of people have, because it's a massive crossing down in the Texas area. I believe 70,000 crossed the border there in December. 302,000 crossed the southern border in total in December. So, including Celeste Malloy, Representative Celeste Malloy, we spoke to her earlier about her visit down there with that GOP contingent that went down yesterday.
Yeah, and we also spoke to Allie Bradley from News Nation, and when she said 302,000 crossed in December, let me just give you some perspective. Back in 2017, the entire year was 300,000. So to say and to give some perspective of how big the problem has grown, we're getting a year's worth of people in 1 month.
Here's what Representative Malloy told us about the visit when she went down. Sort of surprisingly to her is that there were not many people at Eagle Pass crossing the border in the moment that the Republicans from the House were visiting.
That it's not a partisan issue in that part of Texas. You know, Republican, Democrat, recent immigrants, everybody's had it. Their systems are overwhelmed, and that is what I saw there. The sheriffs we talked to are beleaguered. The Border Patrol we talked to is, you know, they have a good attitude about their jobs, but they're overwhelmed. They're processing paperwork instead of patrolling and picking people up. So my takeaway is we really don't have a choice. We have to have control of our border.
Boyd Matheson from Inside Sources joins us right now, and Celeste Malloy went down there. Burgess Owens, he's joining your show today.
Yes, yeah, he'll join us on the show today.
So when we listen to that description, and as they're going down, and this has been broadcast, this is not a surprise, and you arrive, and we've seen pictures and videos for weeks of huge lines, thousands of people lined up, just standing around waiting to be processed, and then all of a sudden, the day comes where all the lawmakers show up and nobody's there. Oh, just conveniently everyone gets processed. It does raise an eyebrow.
Yeah, it definitely raises an eyebrow. And it's always a challenge of the optics of these kinds of visits and how politicized they've actually become, which is a distraction from the issue. Because the reality of the issue is over 300,000 did come in the month of December. That's a fact. Everybody agrees on that, Democrat and Republican alike. But we end up having these silly debates over, well, did the Republicans go down there for a photo op? And, of course, when President Biden went after they counted how many days he had gone without going to the border. And so it becomes this political thing back and forth of, well, it's just a photo op. Well, it's just a photo op. Well, is it a photo op, or can we actually go back and talk about the issue? And so we get all of these distractive things. One of the things that Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, said yesterday down there was President Biden could fix this today. And what he was basically saying was President Biden can, by executive order, return to the remain in Mexico policy, which would keep a lot of those asylum seekers in Mexico until they're processed. Now, some people agree with that as good policy, but Republicans have yelled and screamed about not doing things by executive order for an awfully long time, because what gets done by executive order gets undone by executive order. So we saw what President Obama did. We saw what President Trump did. Now we see what President Biden has done. All the while, nothing has changed when it comes to changing our border and immigration problem. And I passionately believe we could solve 94% of this issue in an afternoon, in a single afternoon, on the floor of the House and the Senate, because everybody agrees. But we get so distracted with, is it a photo op or not a photo op? Is this just presidential politics for 2024? We're missing the issue and the policy that will actually solve it.
I want to go back to the call for the executive order for the Remain in Mexico policy, which is a throwback to the Trump era. We had Representative John Curtis in studio with us yesterday as he was announcing his bid for the United States Senate, and he brought up a very, very valid point.
Listen, everywhere I go in the district, I hear from agriculture, from hospitality, from every industry, they need workers.
Desperate.
And we have people willing to come. I wish we could change the terminology from a wall to the gate, right? Like, yes, we need to control the borders, but it should be a gate, because we want people to come through that gate. We want the good people to come through, the bad people not to.
So Remain in Mexico, that's tough, because we do need workers here in this
separate
state.
issue, though, Deb. That's separate issue. That's
so
asylum. That's asylum.
So boil that down
So
for
the
us.
asylum seeker is someone who is saying, I am coming here because I am in danger or I'm being targeted, and saying, okay, you've got to go through that process in Mexico and then you can come in. In terms of actual workers, which is what Representative Curtis was sharing with you yesterday, he's absolutely right. It should be a gate. And that's one of those problems that could be solved in an afternoon on the floor of the House, because all you have to do is change the way we do workers' permits, especially those dealing with agriculture or ranching, which are not the typical seasonal people coming up. They need to be here for 8 or 9 months at a time. And so a lot of it is just a very old system.
Yeah.
Where, again, the gate is the right thing. So the Remain in Mexico is a little bit of a different animal.
But Allie Bradley had told us from News Nation, boy, when we talked earlier, that some of these folks that are asylum seeking are waiting 7, 8, 9 years for a hearing. That does not sound realistic either.
Yeah, and you've also got those that are coming in illegally and then being given a date, because there are the backlog for those to be processed. There are 3 million. Like, the state of Utah would be in line to get that process done. And so that's not a realistic way to approach it either. We're so far behind. So, again, a lot of that is just stuff that Congress needs to get done. And the president of either party is not going to get that done with a cell phone and a pen, because this is what always happens. When Congress doesn't do their job, presidents do things by executive order. Somebody files a lawsuit, takes 10 years, goes through the courts, ends up at the Supreme Court, very politicized. Nothing changes, and we're back to square one. And so it's time for the kind of leadership that says this is an issue we can solve, and it's got to be groups like the Problem Solver Caucus in the House that can get Republicans and Democrats together and say, okay, it's time. Let's actually just get this thing done.
What are a couple things where Democrats and Republicans agree? Because right now, the way it's being painted, it's The GOP wants razor wire and a completely closed border, and the Democrats want to open the fire hose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's either you're for just let everybody storm the castle, or put in the alligators and the razor wire, and those are both false narratives, and it's all for political purposes because both sides raise hundreds of millions of dollars off of that, and you're going to see it over and over in every campaign ad all across the country for all of 2024. And so it's the industrial complex of the Democrats and the Republicans that are really driving this because they would rather have the political point than solve the policy problem. When I was in Washington, you could get a room filled with Democrats and Republicans, and you could start and say, do we need to have a secure border? Everybody will agree. We have to secure the border. We have to be able to tell who comes in and who goes out. We have to have a process that makes it easier to come here legally than to come here illegally. We have all the incentives are all wrong. To Debbie's point, if we've got millions of people waiting in a line for a hearing or for a processing, even for an asylum seeker, and they're going to wait a decade. You think they're going to wait a decade? No, they're going to come in illegally.
Of course they are. They're going to come in illegally, or I die waiting.
Yeah.
And that's just stay in a really, really, really long line.
Yeah, or they live in the shadows and they go through the process because it's still better than where they are. So the process has to change. And the thing we have to do, to me, this is about trust, and it's trusting the American people. I trust the American people. We know what to do with thugs and bad guys. The American people know what to do with thugs and bad guys, and the American people know what to do with really compassionate cases of people seeking asylum, who are truly seeking asylum. No one's more compassionate than the American people. And that should be the beginning of the conversation in Congress, is we can deal with thugs and bad guys. We know how to do that. We can deal with compassionate cases. Nobody does it better than the United States of America. And you secure the border, you change the process, the work visas, all of those system things that should be overhauled because they're outdated, they're antiquated. It's a labyrinth that you can't even get through, even if you do it right. And so let's change the incentives to it and have a different kind of conversation. But it won't happen. It will not happen until someone has the political courage to say enough.
Boyd Matheson, thank you. Inside Sources today from 1 to 3.
Carson Jorgensen, who's the former chair of the Utah GOP, also, I believe, announcing his bid to run for governor today. Joining us next as we take a closer look at the need for workers in Utah in conjunction with the crisis at the border.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
We're just days away.
State lawmakers are already hard at work on a number of bills,
making decisions that affect you.
Utah's 2024 legislative session starts in January. Get updates on every bill with Tim and Amanda mornings and Jeff Kaplan afternoons. Eye on the Hill 2024
on KSL News Radio.
I lock up my Old Spice Fiji aluminum-free dry spray to keep that 24/7 lasting freshness safe for myself. Fresh coconuts, palm trees in the wind. It's like catching waves in Fiji. Actually, I just talked myself into a refreshing spritz of Fiji. My Old Spice is missing! No!
Don't miss out on limited-time appliance deals during the closeout event at Lowe's. Get up to 35% off select major appliances. Plus, save an extra $100 when you spend $999 or more on all major appliances. Hurry, these deals are too good to last long. Shop in-store or online today. Because Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid 1/4 through 1/24. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for details.
It's the new year. We're all making very, very reasonable goals right now. I know we are. Very reasonable, achievable goals. But one thing, Debbie, that you and I have been learning a lot about is it doesn't always have to be hard to eat healthy.
FedUpKitchen.com. FedUpKitchen.com is your go-to for healthy, happy, heat and eat meals that are right in your refrigerator and ready to go anytime you're getting hungry. Jen Strong from Fed Up Kitchen live in studio with us right now. And you're doing a special deal right now on the peanut butter bites, which Dave is going to taste test for us.
We are. We've got our Energy Bites 10 bites for $10 all month long. These are a phenomenal pre-workout or post-workout snack. They're perfect to take the edge off that sugar craving that you have. They're healthy and delicious. Just one of our many treats.
I love that they're pre-made too, because when I go to the gym, I don't want to sit there and have to make up my energy drinks or have that snack that I'm sitting there trying to make in the moment. I just want to grab it and go, and that's what I love about the Fed Up Kitchen concept. You can drive by and pick up your meals like you are in Syracuse,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep, we're in Syracuse, and we have delivery and pickup options available. We are delivering all over, and we've got 13 locations, Fed Up locations across the Wasatch Front. So you can get online, look at the location nearest you, and like you said, it's a variety of food, right? It's healthy meal prep, individual meals that just need to be heated up. We're cooking them the same day you pick them up, so they are as fresh as can be. Pop them in your fridge, and like you said, when you want a healthy, delicious meal, you grab it and just heat it up. Nothing's frozen, nothing. So
it's
easy.
fresh.
So
it's
easy.
just fresh right there.
I've eaten a lot of your meals. I've eaten a lot of your snacks. I think I have a new favorite. These are so good.
Are they good,
These
Dave?
Energy bites are so good.
great.
You know, so often when you have these snacks or even an energy bar, they have a taste, they have a flavor, they're kind of gross. This is This is delicious.
It looks so good. I can't
I'm
wait
gonna
to
take another
try
bite.
one.
Don't worry about me.
Jen Strong from Fed Up Kitchen. You're going to stick around for just in the next 45 minutes or so. We're going to talk to you a few more times. Tell people where to sign up.
Okay, go online to fedupkitchen.com, find the nearest location. You can set up a profile so you're able to use any of our promotion codes that we're offering. But you want to look at the variety packs, which is a one-time pickup, 6, 8, 10, 12 meals, or you can do a plan and pick up all of your meals twice a week. And so these are going to be breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We have many options available. Again, macro-friendly, healthy, delicious, so easy and convenient.
And make sure you do the 10 bites for $10. That's a given.
Absolutely.
That's a given. All right, stick around. We want to continue this conversation.
It's fedupkitchen.com.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
My little brother's friends have been camped out at our place for 2 days straight. 3. It's because of the Xfinity 10G network. Internet that can handle a house full of screens at once, with basically no interruptions. And it's only getting faster. When I was their age, internet like this was a pipe dream.
You sound like my grandpa.
Please go home.
The next generation 10G network only from Xfinity. The future starts now. Now through March 21st, new customers can get 1.2 gigabit internet on the Xfinity 10G network for just $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and Wi-Fi equipment included when you add Xfinity Mobile with unlimited data at regular rates. Go to xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless bill and auto-pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, 2 people died early this morning when a car crashed into a semi that had rolled over on I-15 in Payson. Another semi snarled traffic through Murray on I-215. Second, the commissioner of the Pac-12 says he could have saved the conference if its member schools had been more patient. And third, a school shooting in Perry, Iowa, left 1 person dead and at least 2 injured. Right now, 35 degrees with light snow. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, we learned that the numbers of people crossing the border, the southern border, have been staggering. 300,000 encounters by the Border Patrol at the southern border just last month. A contingent of Republicans went to the southern border from the House of Representatives. They were led by House Speaker Mike Johnson.
Under President Biden, America has laid out a welcome mat to illegal immigrants, smugglers, and cartels.
And the numbers truly are staggering. 300,000 illegal crossings just last month, like you said. There were 300,000 illegal crossings in 2017 in total. We're up to 2.2 million illegal crossings last year.
We spoke earlier in the show to Celeste Malloy, new representative representing Utah's 2nd Congressional District. one of her first orders of business is to go on this trip. She goes down to the southern border, Eagle Pass, Texas. No kidding. I think she barely got off the plane today. Back
Made the
from
phone
that
call
trip.
in.
And she called us.
By the time we got there, the flow had slowed to a trickle, so they'd moved everybody out. If they'd have had the same inflow when we were there that they had during the holidays, there'd have still been lines.
It's a little bit like when you have people showing up to your house and you're trying to organize everything and do a quick cleanup. It feels like that's what's happening because we've watched the videos, we've seen the pictures over the last several weeks where there are thousands of people lined up, standing around in the cold, waiting for something to happen. In fact, you even saw people during the press conference crossing the Rio Grande River with small children.
We do know that in the state of Utah, we need workers here. Corporations, hospitality, farmers need workers. We talked to Representative John Curtis about that when he was in-house yesterday announcing his run for the United States Senate. And he said, everywhere I go in Utah, we understand, I hear this need for workers. So there has to be some kind of a balance. Here's a suggestion.
Listen, everywhere I go in the district, I hear from agriculture, from hospitality, from every industry, they need workers.
Desperate.
And we have people willing to come. I wish we could change the terminology from a wall to the gate, right? Like, yes, we need to control the borders, but it should be a gate because we want people to come through that gate. We want the good people to come through, the bad people not to.
Former chair of the Utah GOP, Carson Jorgensen, also making your announcement today that you're running for governor. Did I read that right?
You're correct.
Well, congratulations and welcome. Thanks for calling the show.
Well,
thanks for having me, you guys.
We actually reached out to you just because we wanted to have the conversation. Then we saw you pop up running for governor. So that's kind of a separate conversation I think we'll have in the future as well. But we wanted to kind of narrow down this conversation because when we're looking at the southern border, there's a lot of different elements to it. There's the asylum seekers, there's the illegal crossings, there's the criminal activity. But we wanted to focus specifically on the role migrants play in our economy and here in Utah. Can you speak to that?
No, absolutely. I mean, myself coming from the agricultural background, we use H-2A workers to herd sheep all the time. You look at the dairy industry, they use them for milking cows, a lot of workers. And so absolutely, and good help's hard to find. You look at the construction industry right now, there are job openings left and right that can't be filled because we don't have enough workers to do so. But here's the hard part. We go through all these processes. It's a hard deal. For us to get an H-2A worker from another country, we have to jump through enormous hoops to get them here. And they can only stay for a certain period of time before they have to go home, before they can renew their visa to come back again. And so that's what's hard to watch on the southern border is, yes, we do need this help, but they need to streamline the process. There needs to be something happen. We have to stop the flow so that we can start organizing how to make this happen.
Carson, what's realistic when you need a worker in the agriculture industry here in Utah? I mean, what is it like now to get somebody from another country, and then what is more realistic?
Yeah, most of our sheep herders come from Chile, and it's a 9-month process at minimum to get their visa work done, to get that H-2A done. And for sheep herders, it's a little bit different. Most agricultural workers is 1 year, but for sheep herders, it's 3 because it's such a learning on the job kind of thing.
3 years?
They can stay for 3 years.
Okay,
but then they have to go home.
Okay,
and leave the country. So it's a difficult process.
So you get them trained. You figure out that they're a decent worker or good worker, and then they have to go back home, it sounds like.
Yep. And then they have to go back home, and we're actually dealing with that right now. We have a guy that we got working here, and he was trained up really great, and he went back home, and we're trying to get him back again. But again, the process is start back over, and it's 9 months for an H-2A.
Well, and I'm worried if we're incentivizing bad behavior from the ranchers because they're desperate to get the job done. They have a family to feed. They have a ranch to run, and to run things legally, if it's just roadblock after roadblock after roadblock, doesn't that incentivize people to maybe work at the edges, to put it nicely?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, farmers and ranchers are starting to have these discussions, and they're watching it, and they're saying, they're letting these people come through the southern border. They're giving them a cell phone and telling them to show up to a court date in 5 years. But yet we're doing all these things and paying all this money. It's not cheap either. I mean, we're talking membership dues to companies that file for these visas that are, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a year, not to mention the paperwork fees. And people are like, why are we having to do all of this if they can just walk across the border?
Carson, it just sounds like there's just this other aspect. The whole system is broken. Let me just go there. I mean, it's just the whole
Amen.
system is broken. The asylum seekers are having to wait almost a decade, it's 8 years for a hearing. You're saying that some of your workers are having to wait 5 years. I would imagine it can be even longer than that. And in the meantime, you're desperate for employees.
Absolutely. It is a terrible situation that we find ourselves in, and Congress is going to have to get to work really quick and come up with a solution because this is unsustainable on both ends.
Well, we appreciate you joining us. We knew this was right in your wheelhouse. You had personal experience on this. So Carson Jorgensen, thank you for joining us.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. American Fork police are investigating after finding 2 decomposing bodies in a home during a welfare check.
Both of the bodies were in intermediate to advanced stages of decomposition, which makes it really difficult for us to determine anything really. And so that's why we're leaning really heavily on the medical examiner to be able to provide more information as to what happened to these 2 individuals.
Police Chief Cameron Paul says they're investigating suspicious circumstances surrounding the couple's death, but he didn't give any more details. The mayor of Roosevelt is ending his run for the U.S. Senate. Instead, he'll run for the 3rd Congressional District, the seat currently held by John Curtis. Rob Bird says his background in the energy sector and a history in rural areas makes him a good fit for that office. Our top national story from ABC News. A deadly school shooting northwest of Des Moines, Iowa this morning. Law enforcement says at least one person was killed at Perry High School early today. That's the first day before them back from winter break. Police are finding multiple gunshot victims at the scene. Parent Juan Meraz has 2 daughters attending that school.
Seeing everybody crying and just sad and angry about this, it's tormenting. It's very sad to see my community in pain right now.
The Dallas County Sheriff says police still working to find out the number of victims and the extent of their injuries. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day 141 points right now, while the NASDAQ has slipped about 5 points into negative territory. And our KSL weather, we've got snow on and off for the next several days. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want you to know that it's the little things that count. Any remodeler can say they treat customers right when it comes to siding, gutters, windows, and exteriors. It's hard to know for sure. If a contractor uses cheap generic nails instead of super grippy ridge shaft nails for your siding, would you even know? If they use cheap $4 caulk to install your new windows instead of paying $9 a tube for the good stuff, could you tell by looking? It all comes down to the details and trust. At RGS Exteriors, we only do things one way, the right way. We never cut corners. We never skimp on details. We never do less than the job requires. That's why we offer our industry's exclusive 10-year everything guarantee. And it's why we have the happiest customers. If you need any gutters, siding, or replacement windows, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsutah.com. That's 801-280-3110 or online at rgsutah.com.
For quite a while now, Debbie and I have been talking and telling you guys about Fed Up Kitchen. Fed Up Kitchen is a great way to eat healthy. And I think part of the reason I don't eat healthy is just convenience. And Fed Up Kitchen has really helped me with that. It's like, oh, you can have the convenience and not feel terrible after eating a meal.
And no messy kitchen in your own home because Fed Up Kitchen does all of the work for you. Jen Strong owns the Syracuse location of Fed Up Kitchen. I love this concept. It's heat and eat. We can pick up our meals at one of the many locations you have across the Wasatch Front, or you can have them delivered, Jen.
Yep. We've got 13 locations across the Wasatch Front, and we do have delivery and pickup options. And like you said, Deb, these are healthy, fresh meals that you can pick up and pop right in your microwave. We cook all of our meals the day that you pick them up, so they are fresh and delicious. I mentioned macro friendly, and that just means high protein, low carbs, very low sugar. All of our food's gluten-free. So the treats and greens you guys are eating today, trying out today, they're good for you. They're good for you.
They are good, and they're delicious.
That's an important part of it, Jen, because you're admitting, like, you know what, you're going to get a little snacky. You don't have to blow up your entire day's worth of calories. We're going to provide you some healthy snacks. And we just tried the peanut butter bites, by the way. You've got a great deal going on, 10 bites for $10 this month. Well, I've also got the orange cranberry muffins, and I've got the best job ever right now. I'm like the taste test guy. So go ahead and tell us about the snacks and why it's important to have healthy snacks out there.
Absolutely. So Fed Up Kitchen has a variety. We have the green drinks that are so good for your gut, right? Clean carbohydrates, fruits and vegetables. We've got the smoothies and parfaits. You mentioned the energy bites that we've got a promotion going in January. And we also have our protein muffins and cookies. And again, these are sweet, delicious treats, but they're good for you, and you don't have to feel guilty about eating them. And you shouldn't, right? You shouldn't feel guilty about eating them because they're delicious and good for you.
And they're an appropriate size.
Yes.
Right? I mean,
absolutely.
sometimes you get the crazy muffins that are like 2.5 pounds. You're like, that's probably not going to go great for you.
And if you're listening, you're like, look, I have a significant other, and he eats a lot more than I eat. What I love when I went to fedupkitchen.com is I found out there's female portion sizes and male portion sizes. I'm like, bingo, Fed Up Kitchen has nailed it.
Yes, and we've got a variety of everything, right? You can go online and order a variety pack, which is a one-time pickup. You can select 6, 8, 10, 12 meals, add your treats or greens. You can do a plan where you're picking up twice a week, and we're doing all of your food for you. Especially if you're looking at losing weight or sticking to a specific diet, this is very, very helpful. Again, we talk about the convenience and just the overall health of our food. And I can speak for all of the Fed Up owners when I say we are so passionate about eating well and serving our communities with healthy meals. And that's what this is about, is really teaching people how to eat well.
Well, if you don't mind sticking around, we want to continue this conversation, but all you have to do is go to fedupkitchen.com.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Visit the contest page on KSLNewsRadio.com.
This week, win $250 cash. That's right. We're giving you a chance at New Year's cash just for subscribing to our text database. Or
win lower bowl tickets to an upcoming jazz game.
Catch select jazz games right here on KSL News Radio. Plus, win tickets to the Piano Guys, coming September to the Sandy Amphitheater. What are you waiting for?
Text the word contest to 57500 or go to KSLNewsRadio.com/contests.
Emergency traffic brought to you by Sinclair. Save up to 20 cents with Dino Pay. Here's Ricky Meese.
We have about 4 solid miles, give or take, of stop-and-go delays sitting on northbound I-15 in Utah County. It's all due to this rolled semi that resulted in a fatality in Payson, northbound I-15 800 South SR 178 in Payson. Now, there is only a single lane of traffic getting through that area. You've got to get over to the left, and that's for everyone to get through, and that's why we have these solid backups. If you don't want to sit through these delays, and if you haven't already passed up this option, you can exit northbound I-15 and take SR 198 just after Macy's in Santaquin. That'll take you around. Then you can rejoin. That'll take you through Spring Lake and then rejoin northbound I-15 at 800 South in the Payson area. But again, 4 to 4.5 miles of stop-and-go delays sitting on northbound I-15 in Utah County right now. Don't miss the amazing Utah Auto Expo, January 12th through 15th at the Mountain America Exposition Center. See the newest cars, trucks, electric vehicles, all in a non-selling environment. AutoExpoUtah.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, we've got snow off and on for the next couple of days. The biggest storm moving in Saturday night into Sunday. And right now, 35 degrees with light snow. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. The D2 Follow-Up Report. We stay connected to important stories to give you the latest.
Even if that story broke more than a year ago, we're going to go back to September of 2022 and bring you an update on a court case where a Utah judge has ruled that the woman who is criminally charged in the shooting death of her bull riding boyfriend, the case would be dismissed against her. And he made that decision, said she was justified, and he dismissed the case yesterday during what's called a justification hearing. And this is kind of a new law here in Utah, these justification hearings. You and I have talked about them in the past. Well, here it is in full motion. Case dismissed.
Greg Skordas joins us right now, our KSL legal analyst. And Greg, can you explain this justification hearing?
Yeah, and Debbie said it exactly right. That is that it's a new law, and it's essentially a codification of the old law that dealt with what we call self-defense. And under Utah law, and most states are the same, a person is justified in using force, including deadly force, to the extent that they reasonably believe that that level of force is appropriate. And the justification hearing is just a tweak on the law that allows a defendant and in this case her attorney to file a motion with the court to actually have a hearing, which Debbie correctly stated was a justification hearing, where the state has to come in and prove by a high standard of evidence that she wasn't justified in acting. In other words, although a jury can always decide if a person acted in self-defense, this new law allows that a judge can take that matter into his or her own hands before trial, after hearing the evidence at a justification hearing. The judge did hear the evidence in this case and decided that the state couldn't prove that the shooting was not justified and has now dismissed murder charges.
With the help of our colleagues at KSL.com, Emily Ashcraft did some fantastic reporting on this yesterday. It looks like this story posted. I want to walk back through these details, Greg, so our listeners can be brought up to speed on where things were back then, things we didn't know when the shooting happened, but it happened at about midnight on September 12th of 2022. And the woman calls 911 reporting that somebody is breaking into her home. And I believe she lives in an apartment complex. And ultimately, it is her, I guess, a man that she'd been with or had been dating. His name is Ouncy Mitchell. He was a bull rider. I believe he was in town for the Days of 47 rodeo or a rodeo of some type back in September of 2022. And she believes somebody is breaking into her home. And the dispatcher asks her, because she's on the phone with 911, says, "What's happening?" She says, I'm shooting. Now, Mitchell, Demetrius Allen is his real name, but Mitchell is found dead by police. He dies from a gunshot wound. And the judge ultimately rules yesterday in his ruling that he says, look, she's a lot smaller than the person who's breaking into her home. She lives in a high crime area on the ground floor, and it's midnight. So he says she's justified.
Yeah, and more than that, Debbie, he apparently broke a window. I mean, it's not like he just knocked on the door and said, "Hey, I'm here to get my stuff." I mean, so you look at it from the perspective of the shooter, the person who's accused of the homicide, and you ask yourself, what did she act reasonably? Did she act as a person would be expected to act given the circumstances? That is, like you say, high crime area, midnight, and someone breaking into her house. Does she have the right to shoot? And arguably, you'd say every time you'd say yes. Of course, this case, the state said, well, he was a former boyfriend. He was just there to get his stuff. But still, there wasn't enough evidence to show that she had knowledge of that. There wasn't enough evidence to show that she was alerted that he was coming to get his stuff. And certainly the manner that he entered the house.
Well, that's the thing.
Was,
yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's just very out of character for somebody to show up at midnight. You said he broke a window, and then she feels like somebody's coming right through the door. I mean, even if you're picking up your stuff, usually it's midday or knocking at the door. The state did say, the prosecutor did say that they had exchanged text messages before, but I don't really know a timeline on that, and I'm not sure that's enough. So, I mean, you know, so you send a text message and you trade text messages. I don't think that's just enough for somebody to come through your door at midnight.
Right, and the judge said that too, and the judge even noted that there was really not enough evidence to show that she had read the text messages where he apparently said, "Hey, I'm on my way right now." There wasn't enough evidence to show that she was even aware of that. So yeah, the fact that he made note that he was coming to get this stuff is certainly helpful to the state, but not helpful enough in this case.
Greg Skordas, thank you. Thank you for joining us, KSL legal analyst.
What a case, too. I mean, and loss of life is just always tragic. But her defense attorney rode this out with her and made a compelling argument before the judge that she was justified in firing those rounds or that round, and in the fact that he passed away was just, the judge is like, hey, she's justified in shooting. She was kind of standing her ground, breaking into her apartment late at night. Actually, first thing in the morning at 12:04 a.m. looks like when the 911 call came in. And she did the right thing. She called 911 looking for help, and then he's apparently coming through the door. We'll continue to follow the developments on this story and see if there are other cases where defendants are using this justification hearing to get their cases dismissed.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Have you heard of IRS Tax Code Section 1.408A-4? It sounds complicated, but it's a simple tax law thousands of Utah families are using to lock in lower tax bills when they retire. If you've saved at least $200,000 for retirement, and some of this money is in an IRA or 401k, it could save you tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars in future tax bills. You can find out how much you could save by requesting a free and confidential retirement tax savings analysis. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions, a 5-time winner of Utah's Best of State Award. For your free retirement tax analysis, call 801-896-9622. 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
I've got the best job in the world. Just normally I've got the best job, but apparently I'm the taste test guy right now. And Fed Up Kitchen just brought all these snacks, Debbie. Okay, you're joining me right now, Jen Strong. What am I eating right now? It's the birthday cake something.
Those are our cream-filled muffins.
These are amazing.
Our protein cream-filled muffins.
Fed Up Kitchen right now has a great deal, too, on those peanut butter energy bites, and I tasted one earlier, and those are delicious. I make a lot of those on my own at home, which messes up my whole kitchen. I'm going to go on and get that deal that you guys are offering right now.
10 bites for $10. And like I said, these are perfect pre-workout or post-workout snacks, or just a snack to, take that sugar edge off. They're healthy and delicious, and they're $10 for 10 of them.
Now, if you're new to Fed Up Kitchen, it's a healthy meal prep service. You guys make all your food early in the morning. We pick it up. You can just put it in your fridge when you're ready to eat, and then you just heat it and eat it. It's healthy. Calorie controlled, macro friendly, all of these things you've taken into account.
Yep. We've got 13 locations across the Wasatch Front. I'm out in Syracuse, and we do have delivery and pickup options available. So, you can go online and look at our meal plans where you pick up twice a week, or you can also select a variety pack, which gives you options to choose 8, 10, 12 meals And we make 2 different breakfasts, 2 different lunch, and 2 different dinners twice a week. So there's a ton of variety. And as you mentioned, these are clean. These are prepped the same day in the kitchen, and so they're as fresh as can be.
Jen, when I had a stack of Fed Up Kitchen meals in my refrigerator, I cannot tell you how easy my life was. I didn't have a mess in the kitchen every single night because I just pulled one out when I was ready to eat. I'd heat it and I'd eat it. It was delicious.
Absolutely.
Too.
And like you said, it's convenient and healthy, but what we want people to remember as well is you're going to avoid the drive-through. You're going to avoid unhealthy meals when you have healthy, ready-to-eat meals in your fridge.
That literally happened to me. I was really hungry, and I'm like, I'm driving past one of the burger places. I'm like, I've got something at home. Wait 3 minutes, and I felt better.
Yes,
it was
absolutely.
eating healthy.
And that's our motto at Fed Up Kitchen, right? Eat better, feel better, live better. And it can't be more true. If we fuel our bodies properly, you feel amazing. And Fed Up Kitchen wants to help everyone fuel your body properly. You'll feel the very best you ever do.
And it's so simple. Tell folks how to sign up.
Okay, so you go online to fedupkitchen.com. You can create a profile. You can also select a consultation and meet with one of the owners to talk through the plans and the food itself. And like we mentioned, it's gluten-free, low in sugar, macro-friendly, meaning it's high in protein, low in carbs. You can sign up for a variety pack, like we talked about, or you can do a meal plan. So it's so easy. You order online the night before. So Sunday night, you would order for Monday pickup. So easy.
Love it.
So easy
Love
and
it.
convenient.
Yeah, and Dave's going to have to share that. Oh, you bought extras.
Yes.
Don't worry.
I'll
It
try
was
one
a
of those
6-pack
muffins,
over
too.
here. I mean, I've only gone through one, so don't worry about it. FedUpKitchen.com.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. American Express began as a freight forwarding company in 1850, earning a reputation as a company people could trust. One thing has remained constant through the company's history: its commitment to providing the world's best customer experience every day. Amex's Senior Vice President of Commercial Underwriting, Brady Fife, shares more.
American Express opened its first Utah office in 1910, offering express delivery services. We have had a consistent Utah presence for over 100 years and are proud to be the official payments partner of the Utah Jazz and Delta Center, which includes a dedicated entrance for all American Express card members. Today, Amex's Utah office is located in Sandy. There are about a dozen business units within our local market, ranging from finance and risk to technology, supporting our consumer, commercial, merchant and network, and international business segments. Utah is also the headquarters of American Express National Bank. Since our earliest days, we've striven to find new ways to have our customers and colleagues' backs. This year, we ranked #1 in credit card satisfaction for consumer and small businesses by J.D. Power, and we're the #3 best company to work for in the U.S. by Fortune magazine.
While American Express's business has transformed over the past 173 years, from freight forwarding to innovative digital products, its 77,000 global colleagues remain committed to earning customers' loyalty for the long haul. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, 2 bodies have been found at a home in American Fork. Police say they've been there quite a while. There's one less candidate in the U.S. Senate race and one more in the 3rd Congressional District, and it's the same person. The school shooting in Iowa resulted in at least 1 death and 2 people injured this morning. Right now, 35 degrees, light snow in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, here's a headline that made me feel good going into the new year. It's from CNN. More Americans can now get insulin for $35. Dave, you and I have talked a lot about the high price of prescription drugs, including insulin. And now it appears there are 3 insulin manufacturers who are lowering the cost of the drugs for patients to $35.
To give you an idea, insulin's been around since the 1920s. So this is not a new medication. I get there's always tweaks and improvements, but insulin has been something that has saved, millions of lives. Diabetes in America is an enormous problem, and we have seen prices skyrocket recently.
8.4 million Americans rely on insulin so they can survive. And we know that about 25% of those who need insulin have not been able to afford their medicine. And we've reported on stories where people end up rationing their insulin. They skip doses because they just can't afford the high cost. And then I was reading, I decided to go down the rabbit hole and do a little research on how much it costs to make like a vial of insulin. And it's like pennies on the dollar. It is not as much as you think. I think I saw somewhere in the neighborhood of $7. I mean, you have to fact check me on that. But I was like, okay, really? And how much were people paying all those years so they could survive?
Well, and let's be honest, in defense of the pharmaceutical companies, and it's not very popular to defend the pharmaceutical companies, is they develop a lot of medicines that never work out, that lose money. So the medicines they do have, they're trying to make a profit as well, so they can expand their research and development. But big picture, that's great. But for the families that are trying to come up with hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars a month to pay for insulin, that doesn't help them at all.
State Representative Norman Thurston, live on the line with us. You've been working for a long time to make insulin more affordable. $35 is that low enough for a cap?
Oh, I think 35 is actually fabulous. Most people who've been paying $350 would take 35 in a heartbeat.
Oh, $350. Is it that much? Or has it been that much?
So for a typical vial of insulin, the retail price is around $350. Sometimes depends, plus or minus, but that's the ballpark of what it typically is for one vial. And then recognize that most people need 3 or 4 vials a month. So think about that.
Now you're talking about over $1,000. It can be absolutely prohibitive, and we have seen this. We know this from diabetics that have rationed out their medication and putting their health at risk.
Yeah, and so we did have a backstop. So nobody in Utah should be paying that much. We have a backstop on Utah that you can buy through our bulk purchasing program and get it for about $90 a vial, which is a lot better than $350. But that's even still, that stretches a lot of people's budget. So $35, I think, would be a great help to anybody who's having to pay for insulin out of pocket.
So just help us understand this backstop. People who are interested, I'm assuming that their doctors would know where to tell them how to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I would hope so. But the website is utahinsulin.net, and it's a service that we offer through the Public Employees Health Program, so that any resident of the state of Utah can buy insulin at the same price that the state is paying for our employees, our bulk purchase price that we buy for our employees, and we just expand that to everybody who lives in the state.
They don't have to work for the state. They just have to be a resident of the state.
Yep.
Wow.
You just have to be a resident of the state. That's it.
Are you at all concerned about the precedent that this sets, where government comes in and starts putting caps on medicines?
Well, so there's a couple of parts to this. So with the bulk purchasing program, that's just negotiated. It's not a cap. It's just something that our PBM negotiates for us to get a lower rate. And we also did work with all of our insurance companies and help them decide for themselves what their voluntary cap should be. Most of them, I think all but 1 or 2 now, are offering this benefit to their employees. Most of them actually have figured out that 0 is the right price, because it costs them a lot less to have somebody taking their insulin properly than someone who's not compliant and who's struggling to keep their insulin in the right amounts at the right time. So most health plans in the state of Utah are at or near this cap or below it, because just voluntarily.
But there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of political pressure to encourage, I guess that's the nicest way to say it, to encourage these folks to keep their prices down. So, again, going back to my original question, when there is a heavy hand coming in and saying, hey, make this affordable, kind of, or else, that concerns me a little bit.
Yeah, it should. It should. The government and other states have tried to do this, just saying that you cannot charge more than this much. And that is a real problem, because it does stifle innovation. It does have all of these other incentives. But if you can say to an insurance company, if you're going to pay for anything, this should be something that you pay for. And then the insurance companies can then negotiate with the manufacturers as two competitors or participants in a marketplace to negotiate that lower cost down to something that's more reasonable. The cost of producing insulin is about $3 a vial, roughly $2.50 to $3.50, somewhere in there. So there's plenty of room to negotiate down from $350 to something that's more reasonable.
In the next 30 seconds, is there anything on the horizon that you're seeing with insulin or other pharmaceutical drugs?
I think that this bulk purchasing program has worked really well, and we have expanded it to a couple of other projects, such as EpiPens, and we're looking at maybe expanding it to others where people are paying a lot of money out of pocket, so they can at least get the same bulk discount that the state gets when we buy it for our employees.
Well, I need a
so
new
I think
EpiPen.
that's the next step.
I need a new EpiPen. I have a harsh reaction to bee stings and wasp stings, and so I will be looking into that.
Yes, you should, because those are not cheap either.
No, I know. That's why I put off buying one. Thank you so much, Representative Norman Thurston. We appreciate the work you're doing and also giving us some insight on the fact that people can log on to that website. We'll put more information on that at kslnewsradio.com and get a better deal on insulin.
Yeah, you heard him reference the PBM. That's the pharmacy benefits manager who negotiates with the pharmaceuticals and the insurance companies to get the best deal possible. And if we can tap into that, some of the negotiated deals that are out there, that could be incredibly different. Again, even the insulin goes from the $350